Oh,
How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses with your favorite show host, Aro Still.
I'm Flanerian.
And what how we're all here. I shouldn't have had so much beer to drink before the show. And for Sal, we're here to bring you the latest news and games commentary for the week. And we're all here, all at the same time. For once,
Yes.
which is fantastic. Doesn't happen that often anymore because Fern's always drowning in work. But
Yes.
for once, we're all here at the same place, ready to bring you news and games commentary. Although I don't know what we're going to talk about exactly because I didn't see any good news before the show. There are a few bits and pieces here and there. But if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com. You can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, which really I should probably post more stuff to since I mainly use it for doom scrolling. Or you can join us in the Discord server, which you can get to by clicking on the link provided in the show description underneath the archive on YouTube.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
So,
All right. So
And
for
you
the
people
first
cook
time
me
in a few
food,
weeks,
people!
we're back in Hoyoverse.
Yes, you can cook food 10 times per week, and you have only cooked me one dish so far.
well,
So get to it.
you're the chef, and your thing got pushed under the rail by Varisa.
Oh, that's not under the rail on my screen. It's
It's
probably,
like
yeah, I don't know what you're seeing.
oh,
Fine.
you can push it around. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now it's
So
following
there's two
you.
versions you can summon. Yeah, there's the follow me version, which can attack. It's Escofia's only source of elemental damage. And the don't follow me version, which you use to cook with, but you need to hit it with elemental damage like the elemental converter.
The clock.
And of course, so Escofia can't actually cook herself because she can't deal elemental damage while her tool is deployed. That's only blue quality food. Try again.
Look, Varisa's a glutton, not a chef.
Whereas Bennett is, well, Bennett.
Blue again.
I think that's all I'm going to get with Bennett.
Well, I mean, he's got that whole luck thing going on.
Hang on, we'll
Purple.
There you go, purple.
have the Goon Squad do it.
Do
Yeah.
you guys get them or just me?
Just you.
Because it'd be
That's
it
true.
would be cool. It would be cool if you could give them to other people as well. It's not like food is going to break the game, but I guess they don't want any kind of item trading code in the game because you know what would happen.
Oh yeah, it would be
Ooh,
exploited.
orange one.
Nice.
Gilded Hall. I think Gilded Hall is actually better than the one that you can cook yourself. It's just you can't make it appear. So let's see. Adeptus Temptation is 372 attack, 12 crit rate. For Gilded Hall, 372 attack, 24 crit damage. So it's different. It's not better. But there are lots of characters who already have as much crit rate as they want, and damage you can't ever have too much. So
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, we're back in Genshin. I'm completely lost because I forget what we were doing. Last I played games, Genshin, I'd just gotten out of jail, and Risley was walking around being a badass.
I think that was purple.
So, yeah. Besides that, I've also started Star Rail again, so there's that. Yeah, I fell off Star Rail last time because the lead into the Lofu just completely killed my momentum.
The Lowful
Yeah,
main story will do that.
A lot of people find that. I don't feel like I really experienced that to the same extent as other people do. I think I just liked the environment and just sort of hanging out there, and I was not in any big hurry. So
Yeah.
I didn't have other things, other games that were actively competing for my time at that point.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, I've got a few things on the burn, so it probably would frustrate me. But at that time, it just happened to hit at a good time for me.
Yeah. So for me, it was like you come from the hype of the ending of Eurolo 6, and it's like, okay, we're done now, and we're here somewhere, and now they're talking politics. And so yeah, it's kind of a bit of a narrative wall.
Yeah, it's very much just sort of a pure world building exercise, and I think a lot of that is they needed sort of, I guess, places for characters to come from so that they could keep introducing characters, because the Lofu is not a huge place. Like the Lofu is one world, I suppose you could call it, but the Shansho Alliance in general is a large number of ships, like half a dozen ships or something like that. I can't remember how many there are in the main fleet, and each of them is a world. So once they've established the Shansho culture, then they can sort of farm as many characters out of that as they need to for the story.
Yep.
And so they needed a good sort of like base of sort of world building to work from, and furthermore it adds to the world the sort of a concept that doesn't really exist in Genshin and ZZZ, in that there are two types of creatures in the universe: long life creatures and short life creatures, and pretty much everyone initially is a short life creature, whereas everybody on the Shansho lives for an excessive period of time. Like the Foxians live for hundreds of years, the Vidyadhara live for 700 years and then reincarnate indefinitely, and the Shansho natives live for several thousand years before they have to be interred because they've gone mad.
They go the Fallen London route by the sound of it. Fun.
They go, what? What'd you say?
Fallen London route, where no one actually dies in that universe. They just kind of, their mental state just degrades.
Yeah. Well, so they become in the Shansho, they become what's called Mara struck, which is where they turn into abominations of abundance because they can't maintain their sanity anymore, and basically the abundance path takes over their existence and turns them into a thing rather than a person.
They become the bad feels monsters.
Yes.
Well, it's not quite bad feels, but it's the same vibe.
Well, the thing is that none of them really have much in the way of personality anymore after they become bad feels monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, hold on. Which game does Bad Feels Monster come from? I don't even remember.
It initially came from 14.
Well, it came from Pandaria before that.
Well, when I used it, it was because the giant in the Dancer Quest. The first time I used it was for that. There is another game that has just the Bad Feels monsters.
No, I remember that there was one that
Yeah, I know.
you were particularly annoyed about, and I can't remember what it was. That's what I'm trying to call to mind at the moment.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my brain if I just rattled it around enough.
Oh, I feel like it was an RPG. And it was... What was it? Bad Feels Monster. Bad Feels Monster.
Berseria has a similar concept, but it's not
It
the
wasn't
one that
Berseria.
But I didn't label that one with bad.
Because I know that it's one that I didn't play. I think it was one that I didn't.
It'll probably come back to us later.
I just open my Steam list and start scrolling. I'll probably click.
Yeah. Because I know that the one that the Bad Fields monster that really annoyed me was Mr. Pandaria.
It wasn't one of the Trails games, was it?
No, they don't have Bad Feels monsters.
No, Trails is usually better than that.
Even at their worst, they don't fall into Bad Feels monsters.
It wasn't an SMT game. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, I'm actually now, as between these two Genshin games, collecting all sorts of returning character player bonuses all over the place.
Yeah, I did that when I took a 3-week break, whenever it was.
Yeah. Thing is, Star Rail is a lot more generous.
Yeah, they did a revamp of the return and bonus in the last big patch.
Yeah, so now it just straight up gives you a set of relics for a character.
I think that's relatively perceptive of them compared to what you normally get from gacha companies, because it's all very well them giving you pulling materials, but pulling materials won't help you actually play the game in the now. It will help you play the game in the future when you've built that character. If you pull a level 1 character with no gear from the gacha, that might make you excited, but it's not going to help you play, so it won't keep you there.
Yeah, so they give you they give you a bunch of XP items and a bit of money, but money just comes out of every pore until it suddenly stops. But yeah, they give you, it's not the best of the best gear, but it's good enough. It'll work for the character you select.
If they just perfected one of your characters out of the gate, then there would be no sort of grind loop, which every gacha needs in order to keep running.
more to that, people would stop playing deliberately for a month just to supercharge
Yeah.
a character.
Because it would be faster than farming the conventional way.
Not to mention less painful.
I still haven't gotten anything to drop from Navia's domain, really.
Yeah, I crafted the parts that I wanted from there, and they were not good. I rolled really, really badly. So now I've got more mediocre gear, and I'm already starting at a handicap because I'm farming that gear in order to keep Ningguang as current as possible, which is something that I have to say that I like about Genshin, and that with enough elbow grease, you can usually make your favorite character from 1.0 still work.
Yeah.
Unless
and
that
there's
character is
also
Chi-Chi.
better. Unless it's Chi-Chi, yeah. But if you've got a character like Bennett who's just going to be evergreen,
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of those things were accidents because they didn't really know how to range find their raw power, and so those characters are always going to be powerful. Which, I mean, in and of itself, that's admirable design. I just don't think it was deliberate.
yeah.
If you get lucky enough, you might be able to make Carrymona work. Full enough constellations, or unlucky enough, it's more likely.
Hey, I've been using Carrymona, so like lately. She's not good, but the fact is that so long as she's the one who's driving the team, the enemy can't move. It stays frozen. Like, it's made that weasel domain effortless for me.
Nice.
You just put the weasel on ice and it can't go underground.
Flipping
A cryo character's actually starting to become good again.
Make cry great again.
They're making a push for it. But flipping Daya's been the one that's been trying to petition me to actually level her up. Girl showed up. I have C3 now.
Yeah, I don't think that there's really a niche for Daya. Like, I would probably have eventually built up Daya just for the hell of it if Mavwika didn't exist, which basically sort of like punches a big hole in the whole cryo argument for anything that is not Bennett or Mavwika.
Yeah.
Like, I've pretty much stopped working on Clair entirely because there's just no argument for it.
But no more cutest little pyromaniacs.
There are 3 pyro characters in the game. There is Mavwika, there is Bennett, and there's Guoba.
There is Guava.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who still swear by Alicino, and I'm sure she's great, but she's not Mavwika.
As a driver, she is a very traditionally statted attack driver. More than her pyro element is a bonus to give her a multiplier on damage, not part of her kit. She's not applying pyro because she never wants to be the one to put the element on the target and let it sit there.
I'm presuming though that she appears with Shangling and Bennett a lot.
Definitely Bennett. Probably not Shangling, because you don't want Shangling stealing your vapes.
I've never played a vape team before, so.
Yeah. But anyway, on the Star Rail side of things, yeah, I started up yesterday and I've been basically farming all the quartz out of the anniversary event, which was nice because it gives you a free 5-star. So I picked up Ronmei.
Ronmei is a excellent break support, but she also works pretty serviceably in pretty much every team. Like, if you just don't have another Harmony premium, she's going to work. There are a lot of characters like that. Like, Ronmei doesn't really work very well for some archetypes, but she will usually work suitably.
Even
because she does a little bit of everything. She does res shred. She does increased rate of toughness damage. She does speed up. She does defense down. She does a whole pile of different things.
Even
so, like, that's why I call her the Wave of Velvet of Star Rail, because you can just jam her into any team and she'll do something.
Yeah, I found that even if like Sparkle is the premium support that gets poo-pooed the most because she doesn't have a team that she can really push the value for. right now, aside from
I'm sure that archetype will be back.
but
Like, I don't
It
think
will
it's
be.
gone
but
for good.
yeah, the quirk there is I used her forever as my
Look,
support.
if you have characters that can crit, she's gonna make that number bigger.
Yeah. So it's like even the worst premium support in Star Rail is gonna move your account needle in the right direction.
I think that Sparkle actually overperforms for underbuilt accounts because usually you're simply not going to be able to manipulate your skill point economy with much finesse
Yeah,
if you
until
have an underbuilt account.
to get the your team fully skill point neutral requires usually some level of pulling and some at least 1 or 2 5 stars of specific ones to get the team going, or in Huo's case, a flipping Eidolon. Uh, so having Sparkle there to just skip that phase early on lets you get your toes into the in-game a bit sooner. So,
Yeah.
but she's the worst one. Ronmei, if I'd had Ronmei, the general support she would provide would have seen even more use.
I'm so glad that I made her my first pull. Even if it was for you know, less elegant reasoning than that.
There's a certain demographic that the game does cater for sometimes, yes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, I was helping you with it.
I couldn't find the other half of the
Sele.
targets.
Oh, the Sele. Oh.
Hang on. Treasures. Sele's not going anywhere. I know where it's going.
That's the problem. I have like crippling sidetrack problems when it comes to these stupid little floaty balls.
Yeah.
I will forget about them.
Follow the floaty.
Is this the cave? This is the
Enjoy
cave.
the Hellfire Peninsula with Vol when he's taken both herbalism and mining.
Oh, also, Fern, if you want a easy source of crystal flies, bookmark this cave on your map.
Yeah, there's a lot of them up there.
Yeah,
I didn't know about this one. I need to find which one this is.
I thought I showed you this one. This is my go-to crystal fly restocking location.
You didn't show me the anything here, so I don't know about this.
Maybe I mentioned it in
very
passing.
happy discovering that the underwater areas are the places to go for the codescents.
For the say that again.
What is it? Coalesced codescents or something. The shiny crystals.
Condescences. Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, condescence crystals. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's for if you haven't got your characters on the Facebook game assigned to ore generating places, this is a place you can go to refill, I guess. On your 10.
Even if you do,
even
if you do, it's still helpful to have ore farming locations early, because I remember, like, I don't think Eye of Perception uses these, but I remember ore being a block for maxing out characters because weapon EXP is a thing.
As an Ingwang main, it was never a problem for me because you can see all the ore on the map. So you just get all the ore all the time. Like, as you just are venturing around, it's like, oh, there's ore. I'll go grab it. It doesn't sort of fade into the background so much.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot really actually to say about my Genshin or Star Rail things at the moment because I haven't actually, done anything with them yet. But yeah, I have a super break team in Star Rail now because between the wrapper I got last time I stuck in and Runmay now, plus the free give out of Harmony Trailblazer. I wasn't going to use Harmony Trailblazer just because of spoilers and everything, but it's too good.
Well, just using the character's not going to spoil you on anything really.
Yeah.
Like, some things will fall into place as you go along, but it won't be anything you can't guess. Like, as somebody who follows the Star Rail news, I knew about Harmony Trailblazer long before I completed the story. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Biggest
And I
confusion so
don't
far
feel
is-
spoiled by it.
Yeah, the biggest thing so far is to don't read the lore dumps and who is this strange clock face character.
Yeah. I would
Yeah,
all.
that's going to be explained kind of, but not really. There's a lot of stuff that is kept very vague about Memoria generally. The sort of the current direction of the hinting is that the substance of the universe in general is in no small part comprised of memory. Like, and I'm talking about in a universal sense, like matter that constitutes things that can be classified as persons is actually built out of memory. This seems to
Okay.
be one of the directions the plot is going in as far as the really ultra broad meta myth arc is concerned.
Yep. Yeah. The Honkai universe is weird.
Well, the thing is that most of the Honkai universe is speculative, right? Like all of the cosmology comes out of speculations of various characters who have the credentials to speculate on the matter. Like in Honkai Impact, for instance, it's mostly the Dr. Einstein, Dr. Tesla, and Welt who are sort of opining on the cosmology and how it all fits together and so on, and to a certain extent, Otto Apocalypse as well. But in Genshin, it's mainly revealed environmentally through things that are going on in the background, although it's sort of heavily implied that the Hexen Circle have investigated it to some extent. And then there are other things that are sort of dropped in, like Irminsul and that. But in Star Rail, it's like the Genius Society's founder, that his entire shtick was about trying to understand how the cosmology of the galaxy is assembled and how it all fits together. But even at his level, it was still all just pure speculation. So this basically enables the authors to impose ideas on it at will, which is the same technique Nasu uses, right? Like the entire Nasuverse cosmology is speculation from the clock tower, from those people who investigate it, which means that he can break the rules wherever he wants.
To say, no, they were wrong about this. Oh, hang on. I have a mysterious floating treasure chest here. Hang on. There we go. Oh. No, apparently it's inside invisible walls. Great. It's one of those ones. So yeah, we still don't know, I think,
Oh, no.
where Genshin fits into the whole cosmology yet either.
Hang on.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff suggesting that there's quite a bit of deliberate isolation of Teyvat from the rest of the universe has taken place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. Fern, you got to come in from above.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, we probably won't know about a lot of that until they start addressing the fake sky.
They have started doing that, like just to taste it in Netland.
Okay, cool.
Like the fake sky thing. This is another one of those things that is really obnoxious about Genshin. The fake sky thing was first primarily addressed in an event, which was the first and last event that I participated in before my hiatus from Genshin. I think it was in fact the first main event for Genshin.
It was the Albedo event, wasn't it?
No, it was
Mona.
official event.
That's right.
Mona official, and you meet the Balladeer for the first time.
Yeah, and there were rocks.
Yeah. It was not a great event. I'm not trying to say it was, but it was sort of critical story material to set up the myth arc that is like literally inaccessible now.
Yeah, they really
sort of just floating here, Fern, over where I am.
Oh, right. Over there. Yep. Hang on. Get out of here. How do I get out of here? That way. Okay. Yeah, so you've got breadcrumbs around the place. You've got that rather spectacular set piece out in the middle of the desert. But yeah, up until I suppose Natland now, I guess they haven't directly addressed it.
Yeah, they've been.
There's a lot about what does that mean for the cosmology that is unexplained. Like, is it just like a Hollywood set dressing isolation from the rest of the galaxy, or does it actually wall Teyvat off from the laws that govern the rest of the cosmos?
Not helping anything is the fact that right before that reveal happened, a few months before, we had a event that was or its reintroduction. We had a storyline that was basically all about a world created inside of a storybook.
Mm.
To not quite, but pretty much at the same time with
You
Similanka.
haven't done the current story yet, right? Have you?
No, I have not done the current
The Albert
MSQ.
story. Yeah, there's sort of like an offhanded sort of reveal at the very, very end, which implies that the Hex and Zirkel are sort of like elbows deep in the cosmology.
Yeah, like
Like they don't consider it to be lore; they consider it something to be toyed with.
yeah, I have
Oh, that never ends well.
yeah, I don't have any confirmation for it, obviously, but like my current working theory after the Similanka event that you can no longer do anymore, so it's not really a spoiler, is that the entire world of Tabak is the Hex and Circle storybook.
It could be. They do seem to have rather obscene amounts of power.
Yeah, I don't know if
But
that's
it's sort of uh, there seem to be sort of parameters that are that they are conforming to anyway, though, that suggests that there's something more concrete there. But it's sort of, something I didn't know. I don't know where it's recorded, but I remember seeing it on the wiki before it was the first place I found out about it. Was that Mona actually knows about the fake sky, but she was taught as an astrologer to do all of her divination in accordance with the fake sky and not in accordance with the real sky.
mm-hmm.
And yet the divination still works.
Which
So
means
it's sort of like this is sort of like well, something that's not very well known, especially in Protestant circles, is that astrology used to be a scientific discipline because the prevailing, which is why the Catholic Church funded studies of it, even though it's now regarded as divination, because it used to be thought that the skies were a reflection of the earth, and what goes on in the sky has a direct cause and effect in both directions on what's going on earth. So you can work out systems that operate on earth because they operate in a scientific sense parallel in the sky, which is why astrology was studied as a scientific discipline and not as a form of magic during the sort of like the pre-Renaissance period, because that was the prevailing theory. So the theory that you could do divinations in accordance with the fake sky would make sense if it was actually a mechanistic thing that was built as part of something to kind of babysit the way Teyvat operates, rather than being just set dressing.
Yeah. Yeah, if we've got kind of like a Discworld scenario here where the game doesn't run on, the world doesn't run on laws and physics, it runs on narrative. That would also fit.
Oh, big rock broken with crab.
Big crap.
Oh, I can shoot with Navia.
I lost my weapon.
Precious chest.
I need to find something. It's only crab. I guess crab will have to do.
Crab will have to do. There is always crab. So yeah, I'm going to try and push through and get into the interesting meaty bits of Lofu. I just got to get through the exposition dump first.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's basically set up as though you are moving there. So you're
Yeah.
gonna just learn a lot of stuff about how to go and pay your taxes and that sort of thing. It's like, and the council tax is due, and here's the council tax office, and here's where you report crimes, and here's where you pay your parking tickets, and
Yeah. I don't care about that. When can I go talk to the Fox girl?
the Fox Girl will definitely try and sell you something. So,
That's probably a bad thing. Then,
well,
yes.
one of
well,
them
depending
will.
on which Fox Girl we're talking about.
One of
several, yeah.
one of them is going to be adorable and post on social media with her bestest weeb friend.
Well,
Yeah.
she shows up. She shows up somewhat later. I would recommend completing all of Lofu before you do that.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I have got a backlog of the social media posts and the text messages locked up, which is coming in basically every time I stop now.
Whenever you pull a new character, they've got about somewhere between 3 and 8 messages they'll send you just randomly, and some occasionally they get additional ones that they just add in. And when you
mays never end well, but Clara's are adorable.
Clara is just a ball of sunshine.
Who doesn't know what shoes are, apparently. She gets
They're-
given a pair of shoes and goes, well, what do I do with these? Yeah. Considering she lives in a world of rusty metals, she must have feet like old leather.
well, all her
Well,
family and
she's
friends
spent her
don't wear
childhood
feet.
She's spent her childhood wandering around the mines in bare feet. Like,
Yeah.
the shoes are probably more delicate than her feet at this point.
Probably, yes. Hell, the robot's feet are probably more delicate. So yeah, I like Clara though. She's a cute character.
You can still make her work too. Like, she's not optimal because the counter-attack meta is not very well supported right now, but she's still quite usable. There are still people who clear MOC with her.
Yeah, and Counter's probably going to come back at some point as well.
Yeah, it's one of the minor archetypes, like Dotters, but it's more usable than Dot, and it's probably going to be back unless they do like a much more in-depth overhaul of the way combat operates. I mean, to some extent that's necessary, though the way that they do it will sort of remains to be seen. But there are some things that don't quite work right. Like Dot doesn't work right because it's designed to be based on enemy turns, and you don't want your enemies to take turns. So
yeah you want to rush them down, beat them up.
You get like 1 or 2 enemy rounds per cycle, and when the entirety of the end game is based around how many cycles you spend, that's not good.
yeah, you simply can't afford to wait for the damage. So yeah, Kafka's being remade at the moment. We're having a kit adjusted. So far, I haven't been very impressed with the changes. Like, they're definitely not enough to make Kafka viable.
Yeah, you
Are
got
they
it.
going to do a brand new Kafka variant, or are they just revamping the old one?
They're revamping the old one, so everybody who already has Kafka will gain the benefits of the changes they make. The changes that they're making to Jingliu and Blade are much more reasonable, and Silverwolf as well. But Kafka's the vibe I'm getting from CBT is that they still don't know how to fix the problem.
To fix Dot, because the way they've structured their end game, and that's the only content that you really have for the purposes of making the characters good. You've got to do something really radical. Like if Kafka, whenever she used her skill, said the next 3 hits on an enemy trigger dot damage, and on their turn they take double dot damage, that might be enough. Maybe, possibly.
I still think that they should have made effect hit rate a crit stat for Dot. Like, you should build effect hit rate for Dot to like increase the amount of damage your dots do, increase the rate that the dots stick, so on and so forth. Like, because who uses effect hit rate? Black Swan and nobody else.
Yeah, dot characters. That's it. But yeah, they need to do something with that. It's a total train wreck with Dot.
They just totally need to decouple Dot from enemy turns. It needs to have its own way of working.
It may need
like build up stacks and then detonate them or something.
Yeah, you may have to pull the emergency ripcord on those kind of effects and just give them the ability to crit. Like that's how bad it is right now.
I think that you can give them the ability to crit and just have it scale off of effect hit rate so that you don't have an overlap in the speccing, because you don't really want a situation where everybody is sharing the exact same gear, and most people, because they are operating debuffs on their dot characters, will have already built some effect hit rate into them. So you can just reuse that stat for that. But they were short of like actually putting Dot on the action order. I don't really see what you can do to make it work. Like, you need to have a way to build into Dot acceleration, the same like make speed make dots tick faster or something type of thing.
Yeah, you need a numbie effect for the dots themselves. Like
If you must, you could just build that straight into effect hit rate as well. Just have different things scale with effect hit rate, such that you can make the dots tick faster.
yeah, there are a lot of potential solutions, but they need to accept that it's got to be a heavy-handed change.
Yeah, you're going to have to overhaul one of the major stats. It's going to have to drive everything. Because it needs to be scalable, right? You need to have better and worse so that you've got something to build towards.
Yeah. Like, yeah,
I feel like in a lot of ways Black Swan is kind of a prototype of attempting to do that has been since abandoned. Because Black Swan's basically got a mechanic where I don't know if you really examined it much since she was one-shotting everything when you were using her, but basically she applies her debuffs, and then it will just keep attempting to apply new stacks of debuff with a penalty to your effect hit rate each time until you miss. So this is like one way that they were using to try and design a dot amplification mechanic based off of effect hit rate, but the effect hit rate stat is now basically abandonware.
Yeah, it's dot needs serious help. Like, the only change that would make people happy and able to use dot would be to do any of the myriad changes and turn Kafka into the numbie of dot. That's about the only thing I could think of.
Hisselin's will come out before the end of the year, and in CBT she's still a dot character. So they need to have that archetype working because she has to be able to be promoted via endgame, because that's always the way, right? The endgame cycle will favour the newest characters as a promotional measure. And in order to favour Hisselin's, you're going to have to make Dot good because she's a Dot character. So they have to figure it out before she is released. And if they do it simply by making her numbers go through the roof, it means that they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, they are not.
I mean, it's a hard conundrum to solve because Dot operates on a different sort of balance system to everything else. But it's not like it's impossible. Plenty of games have done it. Most turn-based games don't usually attempt it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not impossible. I mean, it works in Clair Obscur, right? Burning works. It's a viable strat.
Yeah, because you can stack burn infinitely.
Yep.
Yeah, you can stack Black Swan and Arcana very, very high as well. The problem is that they made it fade away so quickly that it's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, you can spec your characters in Clair Obscur that when they apply a burn, by default I think it lasts 2 turns, maybe 3 turns, but you can through Pictos and Luminas get it to last up to 5 turns. And there's one, it's really expensive, but you can get one that doubles the burn stacks you apply with everything. And both Lune and Mael have skills that apply more burn per hit if certain conditions are met. So you can just get away with crazy burn stacking. And then furthermore, one of Mael's signature high cost late game skills is does it's 5 hits that apply a little bit of burn and do more damage the more burn stacks are on the target. And it can be a core part of her kit if you build burn Mael.
Yeah, even if the enemy doesn't get a turn, a lot of the characters have some sort of ability that will interact with burn in some way. Like Gustav has a self heal he can activate with it.
Yeah, and the Lumina and Picto system also plays off burn, where there are a lot of passives you can just find and learn throughout the game that you can equip that do things like you have the most common one that you'll probably use for literally your entirety of playing the game is 25% increased critical damage on a target that's burning. Or critical hit chance on a target that's burning.
I already have that.
Yeah, you get it really early. It's like in the first like tutorial area as soon as you get off. Just 25% crit chance on burning targets. It will always give burn as a fallback, and it's super cheap from what I remember too. Like at most it's 5 points. I don't even think it's that much.
Yeah, it's cheap. And that one was going to be good for the. I could see it being good for the whole game, really.
Yeah. But yeah, they found ways to make dot work in that game, because the dots do more than just the single tick on enemy turn.
Yeah. So that segues quite nicely into one of the other things I did this week was Clair Obscur.
Okay.
Yeah, I set that up.
Yep.
Yep.
So immediately after landing on the beach, and the first two Nevrons, and when you said first two Nevrons, do you mean the first two baby Nevrons, or did you get all the way to the boss of the meadows?
I fought one guy who looked like a big version of the guys with the spear,
Okay, the chromatic.
and he was able to one shot me, but he didn't seem to have any story role. He was just sort of standing there, so I killed him.
Yeah, he's a.
He has a.
He's
What's he got behind him? I think he's got a Lumina behind him.
I think he guards the 25% crit chance on burn. But yeah, he's a chromatic boss. Those are bosses just scattered throughout the world, the overworld map, and the levels that are higher level than everything else in the current dungeon. As an optional challenge for good rewards if you want. I was able to beat
I
all
did
but
find
one
another
of
one
them,
of those.
excluding the overworld ones. The overworld ones are usually a lot harder. But all the ones inside of dungeons, I was able to do except for one as soon as I found it, with enough
That wasn't.
face bashing.
I just figured out how to describe where I'm up to. I poked my head onto the overworld map for the first time and then logged off, basically.
Okay.
Okay.
So you beat Eve, and you saw the message at the top of the tree. So absolutely no spoilers after the message at the top of the tree.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's thematically the game is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what I find is something that, frankly, no other game's done in recent time is these people actually act like people.
You know,
In a related note, the writing won me over quite quickly, and the way that it won me over was in the prologue, in that they showed a diversity of opinions on the topic of the expeditions without actively championing one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally, most crappy millennial writing will show at most two perspectives and will lean really hard into one and demonize the other one by making everybody who holds it ugly and reprehensible. That's what you normally see in writing these days.
yeah.
Yes.
But in the prologue, you've got people that are going on the expedition already. You can see a recruitment board for the expedition people that are still there. You can hear Gustav's sister Emma try to convince him to stay because she doesn't think it's worth it to send people off to go die because she doesn't have any faith in the expeditions. You got the one crazy dude in the harbor, if you talk to him, as an optional NPC that is just a fanatic in a cult for the paintress. Like, and
Oh, I missed that guy.
yeah, he's totally optional.
They even had the whole sort of like pro-natalism, anti-natalism argument in their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a good number of people who just have given up hope.
Yeah. The thing that won me over in the prologue and made me really just marathon the game was a contrast between the very first opening scene with Gustav and Mael on the roof, and where Gustav is trying to process his thoughts on the upcoming gomage that's happening, and he cracks a dark joke while he's still getting his thoughts together, and Mael just goes, "Ooh, dark." Sophie would like that, or Sophie would approve. And then you get to the actual scene, and they play it so well with him genuinely caring for her. It shows they know how to write nuance and diversity in a character's expression instead of them only being able to do one thing. And this carries for the
Yes.
entire rest of the game.
The fact that you only know Sophie for maybe half an hour, and honestly, I found myself actually caring about the character. It's like I'm invested in what she wanted to do and who she was, which doesn't end well. But yeah,
Well, I mean, I guess I sort of I appreciated her as a character. I can't say I liked her as a character, because I sort of stridently disagreed with her. But yeah, I like that they were able to write it in a persuasive way that didn't make her seem irrational. Like I think it's basically a product of me being so jaded by the writing of the millennial media writers generation, where they can only see one point of view, and so they will always put every other point of view in the mouths of a person who is either like physically ugly or morally reprehensible.
Yes.
Yeah, there's also a lot of spoken lines by the characters in this game are done out of emotion in the moment, and
Mm.
you got a bit of that at the top of the tree when Gustav is talking after he sees the message. He's like, I don't care about anything else. Got to go find my Al. I'm going right now.
Yeah.
And what his actual thoughts are when this is still poking around in his head may not reflect his actual beliefs, but he's in an emotional state at that moment.
I think there's the stronger example of that is the first when you poke your head out and they make camp for the first time.
Yeah, when Luna
And they have
goes,
a big blow up about it. And Gustav is as good as admits that it was basically, his emotional insecurity. Like he was acting on impulse. He was speaking on impulse because of the situation. And it doesn't necessarily reflect his true beliefs, but even he's not sure where his true beliefs lie when they're actually put to the proof.
Yeah.
Mhm.
More the point, he does something that millennial writing never does. He actually apologizes. He admits that he was weak in the moment.
Yeah.
And they also didn't make Lune a completely flat rules follower either. Which is what I was worried they would do. Like I really liked Lune. Like this is like one of those times where you see a character and it's like this character, I can totally understand this character completely.
Don't worry. At least one of the many costumes you can unlock for characters lets you cover her feet and give her shoes.
That will certainly disappoint certain demographics.
That is very nice for me because I do not want to stare at Lune's feet.
It's kind of weird flying around with no shoes on, but yeah, all right.
Normally I find like tattoos on women utterly repulsive.
Well,
Like
normally
it's
they
like
look terrible.
why would you do this type of thing? But at least in the case of Lune, I know she's done it entirely for practical purposes and no vanity is involved.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll get to see more of Lune pretty quickly as the game goes on, so like, kind of what she's all about.
Yeah, while your party is still small,
And
obviously.
she's not Uggo. They didn't make her Uggo.
That's a good thing
What-
about the characters, is they're not
What even
like,
is this? It's a Western game and the characters aren't hideous.
they're not like supermodel attractive like everyone seems to want. They look like people, actual
I
people.
don't know. I think Lune's pretty close to supermodel attractive.
She's getting there, yeah.
She
She
does
takes
not
care of herself.
she does not look 32. Yeah.
Eh,
I think she's like 26 on the outside. Like that's about it.
yeah.
I guess I don't know what like laminating yourself in Pictos does to you.
Yeah, maybe there's one that slows the exterior aging a bit.
Or she's just genetically lucky.
That's possible.
Well, she looks kind of Asian. Asians tend to age a bit slower. They go from like relatively young looking to wizened old venerable woman in like a year when they hit that age.
You'd never see Asian women in between. It just doesn't happen.
They Christmas cake pretty hard. But yeah, so prologue. I think the prologue is probably one of the better prologues for establishing a story in a Western game in forever. It was enough to get me hooked.
Yeah. And just how fast everything goes to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the at risk of spoiling it for listeners, although it's from right at the beginning of the game, because that's all I've seen.
I think
Like,
we're okay to go
into that party. I walked into that party before the expedition's deployed, and I was like, there are way too many people here to survive the landing at Normandy.
Yeah.
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 Okay, who here is going to live?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh no.
I like how they give you enough time to speculate because they probably know that the players know, like, who's going to actually make it.
They're raising a lot of freaking death flags.
Yeah,
Yeah, like here's Gustav's dorky friends. They're fun, but they're not going to survive, are they?
yeah. I think we're good to spoil up to whatever all three of us all three of us collectively have got up to. So for me, that's whichever one of us is the furthest back. Well, I guess whichever
I'll
one of you
definitely
two
be
is
the
the furthest
furthest
back.
back. This is entirely going to be a case of how long can I stay sober is how much progress I'll make through this game, because after a drink or two, it's like, you know what, it's not worth trying anymore.
Yeah,
Because I will not press the circle button. I must parry.
non.
Yeah, I know. I'm finding myself falling into that same trap. I must parry.
Yeah, because the Normandy Beach
Oh.
landing is the other thing that will hook you, because immediately it raises questions about the way the world operates.
Yeah,
It breaks
like
the rules
every
that they've
rule
just
is basic-
established.
Yeah, we establish all these rules. Let's break them immediately.
Yeah. So, uh, and the just brutality of that landing and how hostile the outside world is.
As an aside, and this might be a spoiler, I don't know. Will I ever get an explanation on WTF the mimes?
no, they are the
they're
only
gonna-
thing.
They're just going to be there.
They are the
Just
only
can't.
thing I don't think is ever explained. Most of the other
They're
crap, the
mime.
answer is there's at least a side quest that casts enough light that you can connect the dots. The mimes, I don't think are ever explained unless I just totally forgot or overlooked it.
They are an abomination. They must be destroyed. What else do you need to know?
They are just there as cosmetic loot pinatas to give you very French
Right.
accessories.
I did
This
just
way,
actually unlock
there's
the
one
baguettes,
in-
by the way.
It's like there's one in Lumiere, and nobody really seems to comment.
Yeah, I think Sophie basically says, "Oh, a mime," and that's about it.
But she's like, WTF would be more accurate.
Well, yeah.
And then she's like, Gustav, help.
Gustav, kill it. Please kill it.
It's not like she's seen a cockroach. Somebody has to bring the shoe.
So yeah, but yeah, I don't think the mimes really ever get more difficult once you learn their moves. They just have stupid amounts of health.
Yeah,
And basically, if you get hit once, it's over.
yeah,
Don't
they
get hit hard.
just go into one, only parry, learn the parry timing, and they just become pinatas because they do not add any moves. The mimes are just there to.
Those social media posts you showed me.
Oh yeah, yeah. The mimes are just loot pinatas for cosmetics. But no, we don't know what the heck is the deal with the mimes.
It's French. There are mimes. You must kill them.
First, you must parry.
First, you must parry.
I must parry. I did like how the social media manager post a generic game mechanic tweet out of you can practice by perfect dodging the attacks, and then once you start seeing perfect dodge more, you can switch to parrying. And then they got blasted in the comments section so hard for no, I must parry. They're like, no, okay, we get it. We were wrong. The correct answer is to run your face into the boss over and over again and press the parry button until you get it right.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, mechanically, yeah, it's not anything really new mechanically. It just does what it does well.
Yeah, I sort of I've seen primitive versions of this mechanic in several other JRPGs, but never were any of them brave enough to go the full Monty.
Yeah.
And just make it so you die if you don't do it correctly.
Yeah, and that is something that really adds to the value of the mechanic. Like, I don't even know why they have defensive stats in the game sometimes, but the simple.
Yeah, so I put points into it because I didn't know how to build my characters, so I would just put even points into every stat, figuring I could reset them later once I knew what I actually wanted to stat with. And I'm like, you know why? why am I actually building HP and defense? Because I actually just die if I get hit anyway. So
If you get like 20 points in HP and like 20 points in defense for the main game, that'll be enough to survive maybe the occasional weak attack. And
I'm
but
going to tell you, I haven't seen any of these so-called weak attacks. I just fall over dead.
We'll see them. They do happen.
rare, yeah, there's the occasional
Really?
enemy that has one. In the post
It has
game,
a survivable attack.
yeah, in the post game, not so much. At least on expert difficulty. Like everything one shots you in the post game on expert difficulty. The defense stats may as well not exist. But because they marry themselves so hard to the parry system, it has a there's a term I hate. I absolutely loathe this term when people use it because they don't know what they're talking about. And it's called ludonarrative dissonance. And I hate this term. And it's one of the reasons I hate it so much is because they never ever speak about its counterpart, which is the much more important part, ludonarrative harmony. If you build up an enemy as powerful and strong and you can waffle bop it, it doesn't matter. But because Clair Obscur focuses so hard on the parry system and every attack is going to really hurt or outright kill you, you always have this feeling that, okay, yeah, this guy's actually strong. He can actually wipe the floor with us.
You should be mildly hyperventilating the entire time you're fighting a boss in any game. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially later on in the game where monsters start showing up to the size of skyscrapers. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and especially after the establishment of the danger of the world with the Normandy landing, where just all of the people die. It's
so much dying.
If you could just get to a point where you could ignore enemy attacks whenever the enemy gets a turn, you would not feel as connected to the world. It would create a sense of disconnect. But because you do, and you are desperate to minimize the amount of turns the enemies get, because every one is a potential wipe if it does its really big AoE dangerous attack, if you screw it up, it adds something there. And also the little things like, the previous expeditions that came before you and laid the grapple points and the climbing handles. Like just it makes sense in universe. I don't have to.
Well, I didn't really grasp that to the extent when I asked you about it last time, but it made a lot more sense to me when they actually said that. Oh, yes, there was an expedition who actually set out with the intention of setting this stuff up.
Yeah,
Like that was their job when they came out, was to lay down as much trailblazing as possible, purely so that the next team could use it. Not because they actually expected to beat the Paintress.
Yeah. There was a team that was comprised of dedicated climbers that went and did this. And they were much more successful in laying the groundwork for people than, like, some of the expeditions.
Some people need to be able to fight, but if they can't get to their target, what will it matter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like those explorer notes, I think I've missed a few on my pass through so far, but every one of them really kind of contributes something to the story, even if it is just dark humor in some cases.
Yeah.
Like the sheer indignity of one of them, of guys, the final line is, "Oh great, and now I'm dying," and just the absolute indignity of that. It's great.
It seemed implied to me that nobody had ever come back from the continent. Is that so?
Yeah. Nobody has ever returned to Lumiere from the continent.
Because I was like, the first thing that I see when I went into the square is like, oh, this woman is sculpting the statue of the legendary Esquier, and I'm like, what?
They have legends from before
Zero came back.
I don't think so, and also Expedition Zero anything to do with it is spoilers.
Yeah, no, they say straight out right fairly early on the game that some of Expedition Zero came back.
Oh, did they? But either way, they do mention that things like the Gestrals and Esquier are legends that have existed in Lumiere since before the fracture. So they have a rough description and idea of what these things are. Like you see the kids with Gestral masks that are in the opening, in the prologue.
Yeah.
So they're aware. I
have no idea what they were talking about. So
yeah, these are all creatures that exist on the world, but after the fracture, they don't.
I guess they know that Nedvrons exist, and Gustav must have built his technology to absorb them based on something.
Yeah. So
yeah.
It's also seemed to be implied that this this disaster happened in a lot of places, but Lumiere somehow got lucky,
Yeah,
and
this
so they basically ended up as a gathering point for the stragglers from other places that weren't so lucky as well.
yeah, they've collected basically this city of Lumiere, as far as they know and are aware, uh, are the only people that got, or only humans that got out unscathed from the fracture. Well, relatively
Which
unscathed.
not that they could meaningfully explore to find any others.
Yeah. So they've
Am I going to get an explanation about the fracture generally? Because this has
yes,
been a
and
huge sort of annoyance to me. Is that,
and you will
oh
get
yeah,
it.
crap is floating in the sky and nobody cares. The city is covered in slag and nobody cares.
You will get it
Like,
in.
can somebody please give me a primer?
No, you'll get it in full, and it's all tied very, very heavily to the core plot.
Yeah, okay. I haven't hit that point yet either, so I don't know. I still don't know what the fracture actually was.
Yeah, you'll get an answer for all that as you keep going. Most questions that you have about the world are answered by
Things
the
that
end
are
of
not the
it.
mimes.
Yeah, unless it's the mimes, you get either a direct explanation, a good enough explanation, or you can connect the dots from the environmental storytelling.
The mimes, for some reason, I just keep getting reminded of the first Penny Arcade game
Uh,
with the Silent Pope.
the damn Silent Pope. Those games were actually pretty good. Anyway, so that's
So,
that. I'm gonna
what
keep
difficult?
chipping away at it. I don't want to get too far ahead of Voldo.
Yeah, probably a good.
I don't know when I'll have time to play it. I've had a really rough time at work lately. I was hoping to take some time off, and then the national head of quality booked me for some meetings, and I'm like, oh, great.
So yeah, I've started my new game plus run to refresh myself on at least the bosses and the area layouts as y'all are going through it. And if you just keep me
Well,
posted
I know
on,
I can ask you what to do if when I get stuck on something that I can't figure out. What the hell is the actual mechanic here? Because it's just doing stuff and I'm mad at it.
yeah, it's a lot of it is going to be just do it again and practice. Eventually, you'll find what you're supposed to do. Maybe the parry time is a little earlier than it looks. It usually is a little earlier than it looks when your
I've
parry time is
actually
quite
been
right.
mostly burned in the early game with things that are later than they look. Particularly the ones that have been a pain for me, and they're very generous parry windows. But the floaty things that they just sort of charge and then shoot a beam at you
Oh yeah,
at the very start. It's like there is literally no way to determine what is going to mean it's going to fire it other than through feel.
yeah. Most attacks will follow a rule where you can watch one of three things about the attack, and it'll get you through most enemies. If it's got a weapon, watch the weapon first. If the attack is not telegraphed well by the weapon, watch the body. If neither of these things provide a telegraph that's clear, watch for a flash or a coalescing of energy. And these will give you your timings.
Yeah, I've also found the audio cues just as well helpful on those.
Yeah.
The thing is that the flying things don't seem to have that. They just sort of bubble a bit, and they're so small that you can't really see much in the way of detail. And they're mainly in an area that is also very dark, which means that you can't see much detail.
Yeah.
And so those things have just been a huge pain in the backside to me.
Flying enemies in general, because your gun does so much damage to them,
Just shoot them.
well, yeah, they'll be very easy to remove once they pop up later. Or as they pop up more later.
I'm the sort of person who sits on 5 skill points and star out at all times if they can get away with it, because I'm scared to spend them. That's why I don't use the gun to clear them.
Yeah, when you eventually unlock the limit break system, you will not want to do that because it's based on you gain meter on it by how many skill points you spend on skills as the primary way to fill it up.
Yeah, generally with parrying, I've kind of started to fall back on old Rhythm Heaven skills of all things. It's like figure out what beat the monster works on.
You can do
Then
that.
find a
I've just
tell
been,
and go from that.
I've just been doing the old standby of vibe says press R1 now.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's that too.
you can vibe check it, and after enough face smashing, you'll get it through vibe checking. The game doesn't prevent that. The final super boss of the game practically mandates vibe checking. He's the only boss in the game where I'm fairly certain some of his attacks are unreactable.
Enjoy.
You just have to do him over and over again until you learn memorize the timing ahead of time.
Because he's a big fat cheetah face.
Yes, he is. In so many ways.
There are dancing robots over here. Should I
don't
hunt
think that.
them?
I usually don't bother with super bosses in games simply because I don't want to invest the several days worth of playtime in doing one boss when I could be playing a different game.
Yeah, I liked this game enough that even if I wasn't into super bosses normally, I think I would have gone for him just to really master the combat in the game. But yeah, he's the only monster or the only boss I've run into that just has 100% attacks I'm almost positive you can't react to. Like he has sub 16 frame attacks and you just can't do that. unless you are beyond well beyond the average human's maximum capacity for reaction time. Beating 16 frames is really tough with a sight read.
Well, there are various gene bundles in the world, and it's actually kind of a nuisance if you end up with somebody with one of these gene bundles on a design team for something challenging. Like, for instance, the most well-known case, I think, is probably that there is a tiny proportion of people in the world who have an extra set of cones in their eyes and can have more color perception than the rest of the population. And so they tend to very frustratedly point out two things being different colors that actually most people don't have the biology to perceive. And there are things like this for all kinds of things. Like there is a particular segment of society that needs no more than 4 hours sleep every night. There is a segment of society that have ultra fast reaction times. Like there are lots of these types of things.
Yeah, but for the vast majority of people, it's around in the ballpark of 16 frames is your limit that you can train yourself to, and after you hit about 30, you can knock a frame off every couple years.
Because bioelectricity only moves so fast.
So, but all the attacks I've encountered, I think the fastest non super boss attack I've seen, if I had to ballpark it, well, there's one. Oh, I'm gonna die. Probably around 22 frames. Although there are plenty of attacks that have very telegraphed wind up, and the come down of the attack is just just super fast. But you should be good for most parry timings. There's one enemy type in the overworld I'm thinking of specifically that might break that rule. But once you know the timing and the style of its wind ups, it's really easy to read and time the wind ups, and it only has 2 attacks. So yeah. What before we get off of it, what difficulty are y'all playing on?
Medium.
There's only one difficulty. And it's expert.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't trust my own reaction speeds to be able to reliably play on expert, so
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is between them. I have not experienced normal and I don't intend to.
Yeah, normal will remove the. I have watched videos online now that I beat the game of people playing on normal, and at least for the main story bosses, your defensive stats can actually do something. But I think that would take away from the experience of like I was talking about before, and it would disengage you more from the system because the punishment for failure is not death.
Yeah, you can take a hit. Usually one. Sometimes none, but usually it's one.
Incidentally, if you're ever wondering what difficulty somebody playing the game is playing on when you're watching a video of a boss fight, maybe after you beat the game or something. There are two very easy ways to tell. One, did they get one shot? If the answer is no, they're not playing on expert. The other one is how much health does the boss get back if it recovers? There are a few bosses that when they get their second health bar, you'll see a healing number come up if their second health bar is just a refill, and you can tell immediately which ones are not playing on expert because the refill will be smaller than the number you saw by a lot. Like, I think normal has around half the health of expert for some
Is it
bosses.
just the incoming damage that's affected?
It's boss health, incoming damage, and parry timing are all affected by difficulty. So every aspect,
Parry.
yeah, you must parry. So yeah, Fern, if you haven't tried expert and you've been playing on normal so far, I'm not gonna tell you how to play the game. Well, yes, I am. You will get a lot more out of it by engaging fully with the parry system on expert difficulty, with everything now being guaranteed lethal, and the parry windows being tight enough that you do have to learn the boss's patterns, like, properly, instead of just complete. You won't be able to sight read it as easily, basically, is the big thing. You'll have to really lock in if you want to sight read it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll give it a go, but yeah, it's just I'm kind of reaching a point where I just don't want to bang my head against the wall for hours upon end.
yeah, none of the bosses are too tough. Specifically, what I'm worried about is once you on normal, if the pattern holds that I've seen from the bosses, I don't know if normal enemies scale the same way, but bosses definitely have significantly less health outside of expert. You could easily wind up outscaling yourself if your damage is also cranked on normal, to a point where the boss just won't get a turn.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to hit that point. That's fine.
Yeah, and that will ruin a lot of the bosses.
Yeah, I haven't reached that point yet. Like, I found the what was it? The coral boss pretty well balanced. Like, it would one shot me if I fucked up.
Yeah, it's
But I also haven't gone around grinding or anything like that really either. So
yeah, the thing about the damage increases in this game is they're all percentage based and they stack additively,
yeah,
and so you will very quickly get yourself with some characters that can just sit at damage cap.
yeah, don't want that.
And yeah, especially if the enemy defense is lower, the enemy health is lower, the bosses may not get a turn, and some of those attacks are really cool, and you definitely want to see them. And they're a lot of fun to learn.
But yeah,
So that's
I'll
why
flip
I'm
over a
pushing
couple
expert
to
so
try it
hard.
out, but yeah.
Well, I didn't even take a look at normal. I just went straight to expert. It's like, well, if I'm going to play a game that requires me to parry, I'm not going to take half measure. Like, what's the point?
Don't
So-
want to get the full experience? Yeah, definitely the way to go.
Like, if I'm going to get beaten into the ground anyway, I might as well say I got beaten into the ground on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah. And the parry window is not that much tighter on expert. It's only by a few frames.
Yeah. I have to wonder though just how atrocious story mode is.
It's probably
Story mode-
I expect it probably doesn't matter much what you press. You can
Yeah.
probably play it like any other JRPG and just ignore the parry dodge system entirely.
yeah.
I mean, could I have the gaming skills of a games journalist and still succeed?
I don't think games journalists play games which don't have like rainbow flags everywhere. So
yeah, I think I have seen story mode playthroughs or story mode boss fights when I was watching videos, and I think those were the ones where they could take about like 9-10 hits in a row and not fall over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, normal difficulty, you take 1, maybe 2 at the absolute most.
Yeah, that'll probably scale off based on what I've seen. You'll be able to take anywhere from 3 to 4. But the big thing is you will just basically start skipping boss fights once your damage starts to ramp.
Yeah,
and
no.
and you will, like I mentioned before, in JRPGs in particular, I find it much more difficult to impose restrictions on yourself. And with the Lumina system in particular, it's very, very muddy what calls to make to stop yourself from being broken. So
I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm just going to try not to outscale things by grinding too much or whatever. You said that's more or less impossible, provided you don't do anything between this is very much the final boss and the actual final boss.
yeah, as soon as the text Act 3 pops up, just go straight to the main story quest, and you'll be okay. And if you really want to keep yourself in check, just don't equip the damage cap break. That's the only other option or measure you may have to take.
I'm not that worried about that. I'm just not going to do over farming or whatever. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if there's a damage limit break in there, then you're entitled to it by the time you get it. So I'll probably use that.
Yeah, that would be an extreme measure. Is if you go straight to the final dungeon, it won't matter that much.
All right. Oh, wow, we have gone for a long time on these. I'm going to end my week there then.
Right.
So that's how far we've gone on this so far. So, Vol, what do?
Well, what do? What I do is I need a bathroom break.
Yep.
Ah,
All right.
Because the segment went on a little bit longer than I expected.
yeah, it did.
Yeah. Well, it's a non-Hoyo game that we've all played for once, and one I actually want to give attention to. So, all right. I'm going to put up the break screen, and we will be right back. And we're back.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and this is. Oh, I did this horrendously out of order, and I broke everything. So yeah, shenanigans are happening.
I can see flight rings up there.
Yeah,
I could have.
I wasn't supposed to get the Q list, but I flubbed the flight at one point and ended up just going to get the Q list, then flying back to the dirigible, and now is everything's out of order. So yeah, anyway. We were about to do your week vol.
All right. Well, I don't have a great deal to mention. It was a rough week at work because the start of the week was the general manager coming to visit and basically endlessly complaining about everything.
As he do.
Nothing was any good. Everything was inadequate, etc. Several flatly impossible demands were made, and so on and so forth. Usual stuff from a corpo boss, basically. After that, a bunch of other stuff went wrong, and we ran out a bunch of stuff. A bunch of customers made unreasonable demands, etc., etc. It was a big mess, and so on. Yeah, so it was a rough week. I didn't have as much free time as I would like. I basically came home late every night, sort of thing. So yeah, I didn't do very much. As has been previously mentioned, I did pick up Clair Obscur. Haven't spent much time on it because of the level of sobriety needed to play it. And I just haven't had that much time in total anyway, so it didn't really make a lot of difference. Blue Archive is doing the rerun for the big Hina event that happened a while back, which a lot of people are mad about because it's quite long-winded because of the new mechanics that they added. And it's basically, if you are not a if you're if you're one of the members of Hina's hatedom, you're not going to like it very much, since it's very much her event, I guess you could say. It's basically designed to make her look good, I guess, but fundamentally there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that a lot of people are a bit sensitive about Hina because Hina's an outrageously popular character, and if there's a character who's popular, well, the next most popular thing after them is going to be hating on them. So yeah,
Takes attention
but
away from your best girl.
My best girls only ever get ragged on, so
Oh, I
don't
meant
really care.
just in general for the population that hates on a popular character.
Yeah, but like I know that my favorites never get the limelight. They're all too old hat or whatever. But the event is still one that I think is quite evolutionary as far as Blue Archive events are concerned. It ranges quite far out afield from the way they normally do these things. Now, they have never repeated it since, to my knowledge. I don't know very well what's on the KR server since I play Global, but it probably took a lot of production to do because it's so much more in depth than other events. But it definitely showed that there's more latitude for doing more than the norm as far as the engine is concerned. It's more flexible than they have used it for. There's a lot of jank associated with the event, but it's still quite engaging. But yeah, it is a rerun, so there's not really much new to say about that. They did add the two other members of the Pandemonium Society that haven't gotten characters in the first run, but they kind of they're very niche, and this has been the design for the past sort of like 12 months of character design in Blue Archive. They've been making them increasingly niche. Like, they will perform incredibly excellently in very narrow contexts. This is a two-edged sword. On one hand, it means that you're not going to be making too many mechas, because mecha is kind of corrosive for game design in a variety of ways.
Mika feels like they were watching Pinecone a little too closely and released Mika as their Christina. And just ignored the part where Christina nearly broke the game.
Yeah, well, they haven't released any more characters like that as far as I know. Like, the nearest ones are Battle Hoshino, who realistically I have never seen her really excel in the way that Mika does. It's more that she has multiple different modes and can serve multiple different roles. And the other one is Shiroko Terra, who is actually not very good outside of particular contexts either. Like, she's just more serviceable than others when she's outside those contexts. But she's essentially an auto attack character workhorse, like a superpowered version of Serica, basically, only in blue damage. So she's doesn't really shake the paradigm that much. Basically, her main thing is that she upsets various restrictions to things like total restrictions release and things like PvP. She has certain niche uses in as well, because of the fact that when she dies, she doesn't die, she goes into zombie mode, which is basically she becomes immortal for like 10-15 seconds or something, which in PvP is a lot, allowing you to sort of snatch victory from the jaws of defeat if you're lucky. But PvP is so RNG anyway that it's sort of hard to tell if that's really effective. But yeah, the new characters that have been released in the last 12 months or so have mostly been like, oh, in this particular boss of this particular armor type or color or whatever, with these particular restrictions on, oh, this character just performs better than every other character in the game. Outside that context, So on one hand, that makes it so you don't end up with like the Mika style power creep. But on the other hand, it makes pull decision making really, really difficult. Because it's like, well, I don't know if this particular mechanic is going to spread or if it's going to stay narrowly defined in that particular boss, which is going to roll around like a few times a year tops, or what. So ultimately, that does have the net effect of encouraging waifu pulling. Is that, you know what, you like the character, just pull them. Like, if this character turns out to be the meta character for some particular boss, well, that's going to affect you like 3 times a year, so why bother to worry about it? So, yeah. On balance, I think it's a good thing. I'm sure there are people who are frustrated by it, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
if I was like maybe playing in a clan, that kind of thing, and really going for the high scores, maybe I would care. But no, you're on the Asian server, and even on the America server, it's it doesn't have the same kind of weight that Pinecone did with that kind of stuff, where you can help out everybody a lot. It's all personal scores, so I don't know. It just Blue Archive has always been a waifu puller.
The rental character business is a big deal to a lot of people. Like, if you've got like friends in a clan, and that, like, having the right rental characters built in the right way available for use for others is really, really important for progress, because there are certain ones that, oh, well, you need to run this one twice in this particular boss cycle or whatever, and you can only run it twice if you've got a higher one that's up to your standards. So there is that factor to a certain extent, but realistically, I've never even attempted to break into platinum rating at all. Like I could do it because I have a acceptably strong roster that could probably do torment. Probably can't. He'll probably do insane. Maybe do torment on 1 or 2. Maybe the easier ones like Bina I could probably do, but it's just not worth the time and effort because ultimately at the top level of play, sooner or later you're going to have to do crit molding. Nobody wants to do crit molding.
Live the Erica meta forever.
Yeah, nobody wants to go back to Erico Land. But yeah, so I basically just play it for the story now. I don't really try in any of the events. I don't even do the challenge events anymore because the rules are often very difficult to understand, and you end up basically frittering away half an hour of attempts just to work out what the rules are before you can even start to put together a cohesive team. And I can't be bothered. Anyway, what's next? Genshin, I am more or less up to date with the events. The events that are not related to Genius Invocation in any way. Because I never played Genius Invocation. But yeah, I've got my exploration progress done, or at least done enough. Apparently I'm at 99%. I'm like, when did that happen? I did this before they released the new treasure compass. So I'm not sure how I managed that, but okay. I've done the Archon quest, I've done the Escoffier quest, and I've done the Whirling Waltz event. So I am pretty much up to date on that one. It's everything has got this sort of pall over it of like, they're going to remove this all from the game, aren't they? This is not going to be here in a week's time. It's all going to be gone, and nobody will ever experience it again. Why is it like this? I don't understand.
Yeah, like the Disneyland event really is. It's not a super important event. Like, Simulanka and things like that are super important events that need an event archive badly. But even just little events of sizable scale that allow you to see character moments like the current Disneyland event really need to be archived too. Because the cast in Genshin, it's so old now relative to the other two not named Third Impact, has so many characters now, you just don't get to see very many of them all the time. But if you don't do them when they're out, you're just kind of screwed.
Did you play it in English?
The current one, yes.
What is it? How voice acted is it?
Everybody except for Charlotte is voice acted.
Right. So, what does it sound like in English when Escoffier is talking to Farina? Because there is like the voice actress in the Japanese dub does a totally different voice, completely different voice for Escoffier talking to Farina specifically.
The tone is totally different. They don't change their vocal pitch or anything.
It's like this could be a totally different character. Like Escoffier clearly wants to present a particular image here.
The director clearly got some of that across to the actor. In that the tone of Farina talking to Escoffier is way, way softer and more fun than it is when she's in Gordon Ramsay mode with everybody else.
But yeah, so the thing is that you never hear that anywhere else. So when this event is gone, nobody will ever know if they didn't play it. There's this other side to Escoffier's character where she desperately wants to impress Farina.
Yeah, because she's either lost in thought or in full Gordon Ramsay mode for the entirety of her story quest.
That's the part that's imperishable. Like everybody will get to participate in that story, but they will never see the other parts. Because the Disney World thing's just going to go. It's all going to disappear into the mists of memory.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Did you get yourself stuck? Oh, you got yourself stuck, didn't you?
I got stuck in a very
get yourself-
compromising position. Nope.
Yeah,
Oh
you
no.
got- It actually looks kind of realistic. Like you could feasibly get stuck like this, IRL.
Presumably, it'll
It's
just
like
eventually kill me.
you've just got your butt stuck between two boards, and you can't get it out because you can't move.
Said help. I don't know if it's going to kill me. It's been going for a while.
I think you're gradually moving down, very, very slowly. Or maybe you might have stopped moving now. I can't quite tell.
Marisa, why is your butt so big? Why'd you get stuck?
Pretty sure that there's no way for me to interact with you in any way. So
quick, get the what you call it, the little pan out and push it on me and see if you can move me out.
I don't think that will work. But let's try it. No, it's floating in the air above you. What things can interact with characters?
Not many, because most things will get pushed by characters, not do the pushing.
Marisa, how did you
That's a
thread
puzzler.
how did you thread the needle on butt fatness to get stuck?
I do not know what to do. I guess you're just gonna sooner or later have to teleport out because
Just gonna let it ride for as
Yeah.
long as I can. See if it ever if it ever kills me.
that's certainly a thing. Anyway, yeah. So I'm rather. I'm up to date on it, but I'm just sort of it's just another reason to reflect, much like the interlude, the Archon Quest interlude. It's just another reason to reflect on how much has been lost from this game. And I've actually started to see threads of like normie people complaining about the fact that the interlude doesn't make any sense because of how much is missing. Like, because without Simolanka, it doesn't make any sense. Without Albedo's event on Dragonspine, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's just lots of things that don't make any sense. You can find that information, but it's not the same to just look it up.
Yeah.
And realistically, writing a story that requires you to do homework is not really great writing.
Yeah. Or just making major content patches for long-term players that have played since, at this point, the launch of the game, because we go all the way back to Albedo at least. I mean, you get a little bit from his story quest, but from what I understand, his what you call it, his event shedded a lot more information on that kind of stuff. I'm slowly moving down. My twin tails are now below the level of the planks.
That's right. I'm just going to stand here and talk to this strange talking dog. Which is why I can't see anything, because event.
Yeah, so it's quite frustrating. I'm definitely going to be giving that as feedback for this patch, that like you need to think more carefully about what you're doing here because it doesn't make any sense. You're not. This is not going to be evergreen. It's going to make less and less sense as time goes by and more people forget. And that content will eventually disappear from YouTube as well. And a lot of people have a difficulty finding it as it is because, it's never quite suitable and people's channels lapse and so on, because a lot of the stuff is from like 1.0 and the 1.x era. So yeah, I think that they need to be more careful with this.
It's also been a really long time since the Albedo event, and yeah, that this seems like something they should have followed up on years ago.
Yeah, and with the existence of Star Rail, which has already established the way Hoyo was going to handle this, it sort of leaves them no excuse now. Like they invented the event archiving, and ZZZ picked it up from the get go, and Honkai Impact Third now has it as well, although they haven't done it for historical ones, probably because they simply don't have the code to do it, because they're old Honkai Impact events are really old events. But yeah, it doesn't really make much sense for them not to do anything, and the stopgap that they've used is really inadequate, which is just to give a quick text blurb about what happened. But
Yeah, like if
yeah, it's
if
frustrating.
if Star Rail did not have the event archive and let me attach to Wowo, I probably would not be playing the game. Because Lofu was a real slog. But it was
Well,
Wowo's event archive that managed to actually finally attach me to a character.
The Ghost Hunter Squad event by itself should redeem the entirety of Lofu. In my opinion, that was just the best event patch they've ever done, and it's not close. I just love the vibe of the whole thing.
Oh,
Like there's this team of absolute total goofballs.
yeah, I love the Ghost Hunter. When you jumped on my head, you are able to push me slightly. It looks like because you move me back up when you somehow got a bit below me. Oh, yep, that's doing something. Get the butter and keep jumping.
Yeah, I can't see him down there at all. Which is
It's not doing anything on my screen.
We're jumping. Shalelin's got longer legs.
Occasionally, when y'all bounce on my head, my orbs on my twin tails make it below the planks.
Oh no! Oh, never mind. You can pillow out. Well, this is
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh no! Oh.
It was not supposed to be this way.
Mistakes have been made. Oh, jeez. Hang on. Let me see who I've got. I might be able to do something.
I mean, we could just teleport out, but where's the fun in that?
Disincarnated.
Turned
I don't
into...
know what it looks like on your screen.
You just look like a blue ball.
Yeah, you're just a floaty blue ball.
You're stuck in the plunging attack animation that turns her into little elemental energy. I guess because you're an actual catalyst user instead of a butt catalyst user.
There's a lot of vibrating going on all of a sudden on my screen.
Kim Guaba. That's doing absolutely nothing.
You can push Guaba.
I can push Guaba.
Aristeel's now floating in the air on my screen.
Oh,
this is very strange.
Oh, are you up? Are you out?
No, I'm still plunging. I'm slightly lower than I was before.
That's not what it looks like on my screen.
Vol's out.
It looks like on my. Oh, I'm out. Aristeel's still having difficulties.
We've gotten lower.
I posted in live show chat what it looked like on my screen immediately before I popped out.
All right. Anyway, we should carry on.
Yes. Anyway,
this is.
Yeah, Star Rail. I will do ZZZ first, as I didn't do anything in ZZZ. What I did in ZZZ is I didn't do anything in ZZZ. It was a relatively easy whatchamacallit, sheer defense this cycle, mercifully. Or it's not so much that it was easier. I felt like I was significantly less punished for having to play off element compared to normal, because I did have to play off element, but it still went okay. It was not perfect, but it was not a catastrophe either. Yeah. And in ZZZ, there is no bonus for doing a clean kill. You just got to get the kill.
There's also Yeah, this is one thing I really like about ZZZ. Um, while they can have the occasional really difficult Chi defense or deadly assault week crop up, they have because it resets every week. One of the two will reset instead of every other week. I think one of the three resets in Star Rail, where once a month for Genshin or something like that. You are allowed to cram in the occasional breather one.
Yeah, I feel like basically Star Rail needs to have one more game mode, preferably one that's not number of turns based, and so they can cycle a new one every week rather than having to spread them out, and so they cycle in a sort of a bit of a offset pattern. But the ZZZ, even if you get frustrated by 1 week, it's easier to let it go because another one will be along shortly, and you can try and do better next time. Whereas the freaking if you have a bad run of Memory of Chaos, it's going to stare at you for like 40 days or something before it disappears.
Yeah, and that's all you've got for in-game gameplay if you've done all the story in Star Rail to actually use the characters you pulled for as well. So if you can't
Well,
use
that
them
depends
in,
on how much you love Simulated Universe.
I guess so. But yeah,
Because if I've had enough to drink, I do just sort of spend my time idling in Simulated Universe doing stuff, seeing how high I can get the numbers. But yeah, but I mean, I particularly enjoy the game, so I don't expect that most people are going to be able to get that much out of it. But yeah, ZZZ has a nice managed to maintain a nice cadence of events. I haven't gotten to the point where I've felt overwhelmed by what is being asked of me in ZZZ at any point, and nor have I gotten to the point where I feel like there's literally nothing to do. I feel like there's still something missing though, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Probably it's just a function of my lack of being dedicated to the game, and therefore I don't really spend any time in the battle tower.
yeah,
I
and
sort
there,
of keep meaning to, but I never end up doing it.
yeah. If it's a feeling of stuff to do for normal like in-game questing, like you backlogged a bunch of that stuff too. That's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff to do, but because I have a mild monomania about doing things in the right order, if I reach a thing where the next correct thing to do is something dull, then it's hard for me to relatch with it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that I haven't done, and there's some things in there that are still a little bit troublesome to do. Like there were some time trials I had difficulty with. I actually had kind of a little bit of difficulty with the story quest for Enby's story. Like to actually get through that with everybody's health high enough.
I do.
Because remember that fight, you've only got Soldier 11 and Enby, and
Yeah,
nothing else.
I do
And
recall noticing
the
that
boss does a lot of damage
I do
compared to most story bosses.
Yeah, if you're using the rental characters, especially, I think you have to on that one.
Yes, you do.
It's. I did notice the damage was quite high. I'm like, oh, don't want to get hit again. But that's as far as
Yeah,
my thoughts went on it.
I had less, but still a little bit of difficulty with the Hugo story fight as well. Simply because I don't have Lycaon, so I had no idea how he works, which makes that fight a lot harder. When you've
Yeah,
just got this character, you've got zero muscle memory for operating.
yeah. Thankfully, Lycon is a very once you get it, you can just kind of. I've never played him in actual content, but I've pushed buttons on him, and the few push button times I've taken pretty much gives you his whole kit. Press and hold the button to do charge attacks. Otherwise, just dodge and push buttons. They'll work pretty much how you expect them to.
Yeah, but yeah, generally speaking, not much going on there. The current event is just a general purpose photography event. Please just give me more polychromes. Load me down with polychromes because I want to pull Yishin. Preferably her signature as well. That would be great. Hopefully she's actually good. and then I'm not going to end up with ZZZ's Ningguang being another Ningguang situation where I'm constantly pushing uphill against, oh my goodness, this doesn't quite work. The design is bad, but I desperately want to use her anyway. But yeah, her being the next Void Hunter tier of power character. Hopefully, they'll make her good in conjunction with that. There's been a little bit of debate over that. The current popular conclusion is she's not actually a Void Hunter, but she's actively acknowledged to be on the same level of power as those who do hold the Void Hunter title. But because she was not interacting with the Hollows over Eridu, she can't hold that title, since you actually have to do something about the sort of the Hollow frontier with New Eridu or Old Eridu in order to hold that title, and she doesn't operate in that region, so she doesn't hold that title. But yeah, anyway. Star Rail, I caught up on my end game since I sort of let them sag a bit, and so I did my Pure Fiction, did my Memory of Chaos this week. Pure Fiction, not too troublesome, went quite nicely. Still used Little Hurter for that one, since Little Hurt is just so good for Pure Fiction.
Yeah,
Like, just ridiculously good, better than most 5 stars.
Unless Ice is just locked out for whatever reason, or just not going to work. Like, Baby Herta is the go-to partner for Jade.
Well, basically for anybody, really, because you're going to be reducing people's hit points to 50% at some point, regardless. Like, there's no losing formula there.
Or come push the button
She's
and
gonna
turn the cannon off, please.
I can't find the tool to do it.
It's here. It's in.
Oh, it's in? Okay.
Please turn it off.
You're going to pay off regardless. Like, there's no scenario in which she won't. So, unless you are totally not able to use Ice for some reason. But yeah, so Pure Fiction didn't present too many difficulties. Did reasonably well, not as well as I would have liked to do, but better than I thought I might. Memory of Chaos, on the other hand, like, it still went well. I still got my full set of stars, but yet again they jammed Hule into the 11th tier, and yet again Hule took me for a walk. He seems to like doing that, and it took me ages to kill him. Yeah. I just he's a freebie to anybody who has the premium Feisha team, but for everybody else, you're gonna have to work for it. It seems like he's just a boss that is sort of more hard countered by Feisha than practically anything else.
Yeah,
similar to the way the whatchamacallit, the Slum Banana faculty is hard countered by Rapper.
Yeah, if you have either Numbi or Facial, Hule is gonna be significantly easier, just because of the raw number of attacks you can get to offset his mechanics. But at the same time, there are, yeah, I don't know what Hule's like for people that don't have either Numbi or Facial, but it's probably not a fun time.
Yeah, I can do Hule. It's just usually it's a bit of a muchness if I use my sort of sub premium follow up team to do Hule. It will work, but it's not quite as well built as most of my other teams, since I know it's sub premium. I pulled on Facial so that I have an answer for those situations which are really, really strongly indicated towards follow up, so that I'm not like totally without an answer. But I never really intended to build a full scale premium follow up team, because I had Break fully assembled, and I had Acheron in that particular period, which has been since sort of superseded by Herta or Castoris teams, whichever one I want to use for the particular situation. So I've got a pretty strong toolkit of different options at the moment. I'm not really lacking for anything in that regard. It took me 7 cycles to clear tier 11, and only 5 to clear tier 12. So yeah, tier 11 is the one that's causing me problems, and it was pretty much all went into Hule. I whomped the other side. Hule did not want to play ball though. So Hyacinth's coming out next week. I'm relatively strongly tempted to pull Hyacinth because just look at her. It's the discourse surrounding her has been interesting, different to any previous character, in that nobody's talking about how powerful she is. Everybody's talking about how fat Ika is. I have never seen the HSR fandom united on any topic up until now. But they are completely united on the topic of Ika, and nobody is calling Ika little Ika the way Hyacinth is. Everybody is calling Ika fat fuck.
That seems unnecessarily mean.
The current meme is that the reason Hyacinth's trailer hasn't come out yet is because Ika ate it.
Yeah, I thought Ika was adorable. He's
definitely tubby though. He's definitely tubby.
He is fat. But SKA is fat, but everybody and retarded, but everybody loves SKA.
He's so fat.
Yeah, I suppose that's it's kind of amusing, the contrast, because like little Ika is the sort of the memo sprite residue of like the majestic Pegasus of days gone past, and all that's left of him is Ika. And Ika's basically a white ball with legs sticking out. She's a fat, but the current iteration, the release of iteration of Hyacinth is certainly a very effective character to sustain HP based teams, and generally applicable as well. Like, you're going to get way more out of Hyacinth on a Castoris team particularly. We don't really know how other future teams will play into her abilities, but she's certainly effective as a Castoris sustain. But since she is a speed-based healing remembrance character, I think that, generally speaking, she's going to be a very applicable healer, because she seems to have sort of like Lingsha levels of damage potential. Almost, maybe not quite as much, because she doesn't have a mechanic that she hard plays into on the damage side the way Lingsha does with break. But she does apparently do really impressive damage when applied correctly in a situation where you have a lot of healing to do. So, when you've got high end incoming damage from things like Simulated Universe, I think that she'll fall down a bit in her potential in things like endgame modes like Memory of Chaos and that, and particularly Pure Fiction, because you're basically not going to take any damage. Like in Pure Fiction, you very rarely take damage because you're desperately trying to outrace the opponent, and the opponents don't get very many turns since most of them are trash, and so they can just be pushed down. But so without the ability to heal to generate more damage for Ika, I don't think she's going to be a very effective character in Pure Fiction. But I don't think most people would use Castoris in Pure Fiction anyway if they had a faster alternative, simply because Castoris's damage sort of comes in a sine wave fashion rather than consistent.
Yeah,
and you don't really want a sine wave for Pure Fiction.
However, if you have my account and Jade and Herd are occupied, Castoris may be a square peg, but if Hyacinth's a big enough hammer to fit her in the hole.
Yeah, but she's a square peg, but she's like made out of diamond, and the hole is made out of wood. So you just hammer it.
Like she'll work. I got through this last cycle by just doing that, but using Wopo instead. This meant I couldn't take a Glaya in, which I have done in previous Pure Fiction runs when I started to be able to 12-star that. So Hyacinth's already a priority pull for me. I was considering pulling. I was waiting for a kit, just on the fact that she's Sariel Barbara, because I feel like we owe it to Barbara.
She is very much a she's very much a ray of sunshine. It's hard not to like her. She's like the only person who doesn't have an ulterior motive of any kind in the cast. She just wants everybody to be happy, That's all.
Yeah.
But like her priority is like, though the rest of the world can go hang so long as everybody is happy and healthy. It doesn't matter. She'll just keep working on that. Everybody else has got something they want to achieve. She just wants everybody to be happy and healthy. So she's very much like her Teyvat counterpart.
Yeah. And Barbara has when all else failed in Genshin for the longest time, when everything was going pear-shaped with the account and stuff wasn't working right, whenever we did co-op, there was one character that was always there to fix it.
Yes, oh no, everybody's health is low. What are we gonna do?
For a solid year, you saw Barbara as my secondary on this whenever we streamed. So I feel the obligation almost to pick her up in Star Rail.
Yeah, I think that there's a reasonable likelihood that I'll pull her. I'm a little bit unsure about whether or not I will. Like, I'm not 100% there. I like her as a character, and she has like rather meme-worthy animations in a lot of ways. But it's I don't need her, but I don't know if that's really going to stop me. I just guess I don't know what the future of the Castoris team looks like, because it doesn't, because it's only ever going to be used on the side that is quantum vulnerable, and that's basically what that team is locked to now. There's not really, I guess it's also a team that doesn't really care too much about toughness breaking. So it's only really going to present a problem if toughness breaking is mandatory, like it is in Apocalyptic Shadow. Because the damage output is what you care about. So if you've got enough shred, then who cares about the toughness breaking? But yeah, she's definitely a great fit for a Castoris team. The question is, what is the Castoris' team's long-term prospect going to be? Because the Herta team has an Axa to ensure that it's not going to get hedged out of off-element Apocalyptic Shadows. But there's not really a great solution to that problem for Castoris. So there are a few sort of intermediary solutions that you could use, but they're not quite perfect fits. But I mean, it's an interesting strategic goal to work around to see if there is a way to do that. But yeah, Hyacine's definitely more beneficial, and the big problem that my account has is that my two main sustains are Lingsha and Fushuen. And Fushuen simply does not work on a Castoris team. Like, period, end. Like, does not function. Not merely bad, simply doesn't function properly.
Yeah, no.
Because it's not what she's designed for. She's damage reallocation tank. And that's a no-go.
Yeah, Castoris just with any type of shielders or damage distribution characters, she's just not gonna. That engine ain't gonna start.
But Lingsha very, very, very much wants to be on follow-up and or break. So she's usually spoken for. Now, Gallagher works really well on a Castoris team, which is why it's sort of in question as to whether or not I pull for Hyacine, because Gallagher will do the job. I mean, Gallagher's meant for a break team, but he doesn't lean so hard into break scaling that you have to use him on a break team. He works relatively effectively everywhere, and he's so skill point positive that you can just sort of flail around to skill points. One thing I've seen people doing is building him with the Sunday relic set, simply because if you're running Gallagher, you're drowning in skill points, so you can just spam the heal needlessly on Castoris simply to get the buff that set gives when you use a single target buff on somebody.
Yeah, that's a thing that is becoming. That's how basically I use Woho on the team, is I just run stupidly skill point positive Remembrance Trailblazer and a Sunday with the not his signature, but the Bronya one. And
yeah, I run my Sunday with the Bronya Light Cone as well. I also run my Robin with the Bronya Light Cone because I have 3 of them, and I've built 2 of them up.
I have 2. I have 1 of them, but I pulled 2 of them. I mushed them together.
Yeah, I didn't mush mine. I thought long and hard about whether or not I would, but then I decided I would rather have two of those options because Harmony Light Cones run the gamut from necessary to why even bother.
Yeah, and
But
it's I'll make the decision real easy for you. Penis. Or lack of penis.
yeah, wasn't really going to invest in Sunday's one. Anyway, so yeah, I probably will pull on Hyacine, but won't definitely pull on Hyacine. Not really that interested in pulling on Cypher. She just doesn't really fit any teams that I'm actively using. Like I can see the use for her, particularly if you're trying to spool out the Acheron rope some more.
Yeah,
That's
I still need her
perfectly workable.
sometimes. So I'm hoping Hyacine comes quick so I can make a good attempt for Cypher to extend the life of that team a bit more.
But yeah, I'm interested to see if they're actually going to give good mechanics to Emiya and Arturia, because
Or-
it's sort of not like because there are two ways to approach a collab, right? You can either make the characters good in line with the rest of the characters in your game, or you can like do an Aloy.
Yeah, and with Hoyo we don't have a whole lot of data. We have Aloy.
Yeah, and that's not
They
not a good sign.
they regretted that decision is what happened.
The team at Type Moon are very keen Hoyoverse fans, so they probably won't want to see their characters get shreked. But there's also not really any hints in the wild as to what direction they're going to go with the design there. So yeah, it all remains to be seen. Yeah, the other reason I'm not pulling for Cypher is that I think that on balance, as a character, I'm more of a Bronya fan than a Pardophilus fan. So I would probably pull for Silver Wolf to fill an extra slot in the Acheron team rather than pull for Cypher. Even though Silver Wolf is not as good. I just like Silver Wolf better. But Silver Wolf's getting revamped, and the current revamp system, they've adjusted the random weakness install to be it installs weaknesses in the order that you line them up in your team, the elements up in your team.
Oh, so you can control the element installed to a degree.
Yeah. So if you put your main damage dealer in slot 1, then the slot 1 element will always be the first one that Silver Wolf installs.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will definitely be a very advantageous improvement to Silver Wolf. And they've also just given her a big pile of shred. So, like, you can't even have too much defense shred. So yeah.
I posted a picture of Icarus, by the way, and it's from a YouTube thumbnail that I found while searching Google. But it was the best picture I could find of just Icarus floating there on short notice. In case you're curious, in case you're curious, Fern.
All right. Take a look. See.
Can you see if you find a screenshot of original form Icarus and from Hyacine's ult?
That is a potato. Is what that is.
Yeah.
A very chonky potato.
Have you seen that meme image, which is like a really high saturation image of dolphins leaping out of the water? It's used for heaps of things, like dolphins and water sparkles and rainbows and stuff. Have you seen that meme image?
It's ringing
If
a
I
bell.
have, it probably hasn't registered.
Oh, it's a really well-known meme image, but if you can't picture it, then there's not much I can say there. But basically, that's the style that Icarus appears in when in Hyacine's ult. But yeah, I'll see if I
got a video of it.
Well, we'll snap a screen grab out of it then. But because there's quite the contrast. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, the next story segment is going to be deploying next week by my estimation. Probably Wednesday my time. Looking forward to it. They're going to raid the big castle in the sky. There's going to be the new weekly boss is going to be debuted there. I thought for a while that the boss in Styxia was going to be the new weekly, but it looks like the boss in Styxia is going to be the new Hule instead, which is fine because unlike Hule, I have a team designed to kill it. Yeah. The new one is a big sort of sky dragony thing, suitably impressive.
Nice.
Yeah, the last boss is gonna be real that they released. Actually, I was thinking about it when I saw it pop up again in MOC. Uh, the egg dragon. That's gonna be real rough for people that don't have casteries. But
yeah, I'm not actually sure how you're supposed to tackle that without Castris, because its mechanics are very, very specific.
that is a
There we go.
incredibly that is an incredibly niche. I'll just post the video. It has the skill animations, and you can see just how wonderfully bubbly and twee Barbara is.
You're never going to call her by her real name, are you?
No.
Anyway, I've also seen a lot of memes. You know the Spider-Man meme where there's the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or many in some cases. But yeah, this is what I've seen a lot from Barbara and Hyacinth. Anyway, yeah, so I am what I'm not looking forward to is the fact that the ideal relic set for Hyacinth, I believe, is launching in the same patch as Hyacinth herself.
Yeah,
meaning that I have to do from scratch relic farming, which is going to make me cry because my luck is atrocious. But I always act as though it's not.
I've been pre-farming as best I can, but
there's only so much you can do in that situation.
yeah,
I did not look at my planet ornaments to see if I have any good ones. I don't. I think she's just going to be a speed HP unit, right?
I have no idea what her preferred stats are. I'm pulling her because she's Barbara, and a healer that can slot in where Wowo is currently pulled between too many teams. What she scales with has been a secondary concern.
Yeah, there's only so much pre-farm you can do, but I guess I'm going to be, mono farming another remembrance character. But I suppose the thing with farming up trace materials is that you're going to get some trace materials when you attempt to farm trace materials. So I feel less anxious about spending tons of fuel on it because you're going to get a certain amount of payout for sure. Whereas when you spend fuel on relics, it's like, well, you might just get nothing. It might all be a waste.
I might actually be able to get my pants on with the relic domains in the morning. There's that too. Like, oh, it's actually taken long enough for whatever relic I'm farming that particular moment. Sometimes I have time to get like pants, shirt, and jacket on before Tribby and Jade need me to push the button again.
Well, provided that the enemy isn't weak against Quantum.
Yeah, then it's free.
But yeah, I don't think I'm going to pull on Cypher. I think I'll save my Jades. But I could have my mind changed. I'm very easily manipulated. So yeah. But I don't intend to roll. I don't intend to pull for Finon. So Finon being the first entry in the Mano a Mano archetype. I don't know what the community is going to settle on calling it, but since Ara Steel called it the Mano a Mano phase in the the event, the recent combat event, that's what I've taken to calling Finon's archetype based on the CBT kit. Don't intend to pull for it though. Hopefully they don't devote too many patches to supporting it. Although I'm not really sure how you would, since it being by itself is kind of its shtick. But yeah, Icky boy, what are you gonna do? It's on theme though, because the whole thing with Kevin in Honkai Impact 3rd was that he didn't depend on anybody else. He ended up basically running to the end by himself with his whole scheme, assuming that basically everybody else would fall to the wayside or be unable to help him, and he was more or less right. But in the end, he doesn't win. So
it's still hard to get that his name is just Kevin.
Well, he was just some guy. He was just
Yep.
some guy originally, and he fell for Dr. May, who was one of the alternates of Raiden May and Raiden Shogun and Acheron. Like he fell for her when they were in high school, and she ended up being the brain power behind humanity's resistance to the Honkai. And because he would follow her anywhere, he ended up being humanity's sort of like primary hero.
Also, Fern, I did not
And
mean to scare away your fish. The blast radius on my cannons was just too big.
That's okay. I'm out of bait anyway. You go make
and
something.
so yeah, that was basically cemented his place in history. And he eventually became sort of more or less immortal. So ended up persisting through thousands and thousands of years of time to try and bring May's plans to fruition, or what he believed May's plans to be anyway. There seemed to be quite a bit of debate over whether he was just too jaded to understand what she really wanted, or whether that actually was what she wanted. It seemed to be implied that May had a better plan in mind, and Finon took the most reliable one rather than the most optimistic one. Well, not Finon, Kevin. But yeah, they still haven't so much as hinted about anything to do with the alternate for Elysia yet. It's just all sort of sitting there in the background, and there's still in the character database flame chasers that we haven't seen yet, despite the fact that all of the living flame chasers are now accounted for. So what is going to happen? Still excited to see where they go with the story from here. There are 10,000 ways they can drop the ball, but lots of ways they could make the story really great too. Hopefully they will keep increasing the production values. I'm going to try and carve out time to spend some more time with Clair Obscur, but who even knows how successful that will be.
Yeah.
Hopefully this week will calm down a bit. Surely I must be owed some time off at some point. I mean, come on. They can't work me forever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not inspiring me with confidence. You're making me want to go and kill myself instead. Like, oh no, it's going to be like this forever.
I work in a family business, so I don't get days off.
Yeah, they are a myth.
But your success is actually tied to your effort.
Yeah. Well,
If you run a family business,
my
to me, they're
success
not even tangentially related.
is tied to how much I can stop an opossum.
Yeah, well, that's a roadblock that most don't have to deal with.
Just so long as he doesn't have access to the company Amex, you'll be mostly fine.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So-
that's it.
All right. We'll zip through my week then real quick. We already covered pretty much everything from my week because I jumped in those 2 weeks because there was a lot of overlap.
Yep.
Clair Obscur finished. I was already finished with. So excited to talk about that more as they make progress on it. At the end of the acts will be, because each act has a fairly substantial finale that has significant events and explain a lot about the world and the way they and gets the story structure moved and set up in a good way. So every time both of you have caught up to the end of one of the acts, I think will be a real good time to really dive into what you think so far.
What did you say? There are only 2, and then the game ends in the third one?
Third one is the third one. While you can finish the main story, it is a very, very long final area, and the third one is has tons of optional stuff you can do after it or before it if you really don't care about the challenge. That'll give you a whole lot of answers to stuff they don't get around to explaining in the main story.
Like, what is an SDA?
That one's in the main story.
Yes. What is an SDA indeed?
But
aside from a big friendly pillow.
Yeah, the giant tablecloth is he's fun. So I'll be excited to talk about that as y'all get to the acts. Act 2 might as well be a 4-act story because Act 2 has a very clear midpoint, uh, where they might have thought about labeling it as such at one point. But the midpoint of Act 2 will probably be another good point. The end of Act 2 and the end of Act 3, or if y'all go side questing, and if y'all go side questing after the main dungeon, uh, there'll be a point there as well. So there's a lot of break points as y'all catch to them. The game is not super duper long. The main story is 40 to 50 hours total for a JRPG. That's not anywhere near the upper end of the spectrum for these.
Nope.
So it should be less intensive getting through than something something with a bigger writing team that gets out over its skis like Persona 5 or something.
Incidentally, apparently there's a new Persona 5 game coming out because they're still milking that.
Yeah, they're not going to stop either. The rest of my week, Genshin did all the events that were backlogged. So Disneyland, the Escoffier story quest, all that I skipped last week. I don't have a whole lot to say on the Escoffier story. Like kind of like Vol did. It felt very much like Emily's story. It was okay. I liked it. There was nothing wrong with it. I don't feel like my time was wasted, but it
It
just
didn't change my perspective on the world or anything.
Yeah.
It was a solid way for me to spend an evening.
Yeah, it was just a side story. No real surprises how anything in the story went. The reverse untwist was even pretty easy to see telegraphed with the actual villain of the story. So it's not going to blow your mind or anything, but it's okay. Disneyland event, lots of cute character interactions in that event. Fairly simple event, not as thick and chunky as the museum event from Star Rail, but very similar to it. And
I don't know if this was something that was like we missed out because we weren't playing through most of Fontaine, but it was sort of nice to see confident Farina again.
Yeah,
because the permanent content in the game leaves her more or less as sort of like a girl failure who's still trying to find her feet.
Mm-hmm. Her story quest gets her set up, but we don't see any of the event follow-ons.
You don't see her become the Farina again.
Yeah.
You just see her. Oh, maybe she's got a reason to live still. That's about as far as they get.
Yeah. So there's all that. I'll always take more Navia. And
She manages to stick her oar into basically everything this patch.
Yeah, it's a very Navia heavy patch. But that's okay. Navia is pretty. She has many bows. I did the Fire Mountain and Bubba's quest in there finally, and got exploration down to up to 80% on the Fire Mountain. Took a couple days.
I really liked it generally, like as an experience. It was like because I went into it more or less at launch, and I was still sort of smarting from the experience of the damp squib that was the main story. And just sort of like that, the whole experience of seeing that the place inside the volcano just sort of open up to you, and it's like, oh yes, this is what the game is supposed to be like.
Yeah,
this is what the adventure, exploration, discovery thing is supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be the sort of on rails bullcrap where Mavuika does everything.
Yeah, I particularly liked the gameplay in the mountain. I thought the environmental storytelling there was really good. The explicit storytelling, I can take or leave. I lose a lot in these world quests because they're unvoiced, so because I don't know to look at the bottom of my screen.
I gave a whole mountain of feedback about that. There's tons of lore in there, but you're not going to notice any of it because you're busy.
Yeah,
and there's no voice, so you can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah, and if there was even like the fact there's no voice is double. Number one, you can't hear it. Number two, even if you don't speak, if you play in a different language, a voice playing would cue your eyes to look down there. Maybe you're gliding somewhere or fighting something or trying or in the middle of a puzzle that has a timer on it.
which is often in this area.
Yeah. And so a lot gets lost in these world quests, and they don't have as much of an impact on me with these big long chain ones, especially because I just miss huge chunks of them because I'm
I
usually
feel like this one was the worst example so far because, like, it's not just like there's the odd line, it's like there's multiple paragraphs scrolling by rapidly while you are trying not to die, type
yeah,
of thing.
yeah, and you don't have a log for these overworld things handy. Only in the cutscenes themselves. It just it makes it very very hard to follow and takes a lot of the impact away. I feel so. I don't really put much in the world quests as far as investment goes because I know I'm just going to miss huge chunks of it. I'll read it if it's stock still story time, but because I miss so much, I wind up not attaching as much to them as I think some people do. I know a lot of people really really liked this one, and maybe they have a mentality that can let them stop what they're doing and read the text and are laser focused on it or something. I am not like that. I have to finish whatever I'm doing first, and it's very hard for me to try and process what the heck's scrolling on the bottom of my screen if I even notice it while I'm in the middle of something else. Can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, remember?
It's not a matter of whether you can or can't. Your eyes literally can only look at one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm significantly better at multitasking than you, and it's still, I missed most of that text because there's so much of it. And it's going by so fast. Like it's going by at 100% focused read speed.
Yeah, it is going by fast enough that it goes about as fast as I could read if it was, me reading at my normal clip. Totally focused on just reading. It would need my full attention. You will miss if you
And
catch it late, you will miss
and
at
it's
least
got
half the text.
it's got that whole shtick where there's heaps of names and terminology as well. So
Yeah.
Oh,
it's more or less impossible to digest it at the pace that you're required to digest it. Like, I mean, I stopped and I read a lot of the council proceedings and the static documents around the place. I read a whole bunch of those, and I enjoyed them. And you get a picture of what society is like. But all of the sort of pivotal events that are described while you're playing, you're not going to catch any of that crap. It's not going to happen. It's they almost militate against you paying attention a lot of the time.
Yeah. And it's a huge design oversight in these world quests, and they really should consider properly voicing them so that it's possible to know when text is being spewed, and b look down there and read it, or c if you're playing in English, just hear it.
I would settle for them logging it, to be honest,
Yeah,
because I go back and read those things.
like anything would be a step up from where we're at right now, but this is a shoe for sure, and we'll be going in the feedback form. Assuming they even read those. So but as far as the story I did pick up goes, it was good. It was okay. I wish I could attach to it better, but
The zone was way more about the feel of it, though.
Yeah,
like that good old classic adventure feel. With there's puzzles everywhere, heaps of things to see, heaps of nooks and crannies to delve into, like lots of puzzles. It was just a playground.
Yeah, lots of fun little unique gimmicks for the area that were all intuitive and you didn't have to do any reading for. It was nice, and it was fun to me that specifically exploring it because I pulled on a lot of Natlan characters. I've gone really hard on the Natlan cast and have not really gone for reruns super hard. So I had like Farisa and Chaska, and I've got like Mualani. So I got to actually bust these characters out, and because there's like an area for each of them to really shine inside the volcano.
I have taken a Sitlali solves all problems approach here.
Yeah. So like unless it's the Yumkasaurs, I've got pretty much an answer for it on the team that I can whip out an actual character for, and that felt really good. Except for the Mualani section for parts of it, because you have to immerse yourself in the goop. And Mualani surfs on Sharky. She does not surf in the goop like the Ichthyosaur does. So you still have to possess an Ichthyosaur even if you did the entire rest of the area in as a Mualani on Sharky.
That's a bit disappointing.
Yeah. So, but overall, the environmental storytelling is great. It's got a great visual design under the volcano, and it is a very fun area to explore. Relatively easy to lawn mow, and I have not finished mowing either the interior or the exterior. I just got the 80%. And
I did not try very hard. Like I did a straight through run, and then I did a cleanup run in 2 different play sessions, and that got me like 99%. Well, it got me 99% in total. I don't know what it was for the actual inside of the volcano, and I can't check because I'm in Fern's game. But yeah, it was not too difficult. There are a few tricky ones where the verticality threw me for a loop, but by and large, it was quite easy to do, and I did it without the benefit of the improved compass. I used the old compass, and it still did the job.
Yeah. So overall, I think the zone is very good. Definitely worth your time. It feels like a culmination of all the fun Natland exploration that they built up and really experimented with, and they just nailed it inside that volcano. Kind of like the area you haven't done yet for Fontaine's underwater stuff.
Right, the petrichor.
Yeah, the go that.
It was the last patch. Petrichor was the last patch of Fontaine.
Yeah, that area.
Like,
So they do a very similar kind of, okay, we got it figured out now. Now here's all the best underwater bits in one zone.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, because honestly, it just made. Well, the thing is that unlike Fontaine, where the primary story was a class act, this just every time they release one of these great exploration zones in Atlanta, it just makes the primary story look even worse.
yeah. Well, I mean, the primary story is
The sense of wonder that you can evoke from a well put together exploration zone is just blown out of the water. Any excitement that I felt completing that 3rd act, like the 3rd act is just so sad.
yeah, it was a ball drop, and they were nailing the main story up until the 3rd act. I thought they were doing really well, but
Yeah, so the problem is that Act 2.5 didn't exist.
yeah, we're just there, not enough information. So yeah, that was all good, and that's all I did in Genshin. ZZZ's in farm mode. The project I mentioned before of just working my way very slowly through what you call it, leveling up my 4 stars so that I don't have to think about EXP or what you call it, the character upgrade materials ever again, except for pre-farm time. Is a ongoing project whenever there is an Icky Boy on the patch and I don't want 3 runs. So that's happening. Star Rail is in, we talked about already, it's pre-farm Hyoscene mode because I've pretty well decided I'm 100% pulling for and going to go for it day 1. Star Rail, I'm in the best currency situation by far. Genshin is quite dire after Navia, so I'm Fishwife. I have said I am tempted just to pay for her to get her off the rerun list. Because that'll just leave Nailu and maybe Mualani's weapon on the rerun list in Genshin.
It's a Rubicon to cross main.
Yeah. But, and ZZZ is, I pull for most of the characters in ZZZ, but I've let all the Icky Boys go, and Caesar and Yanagi and a few characters go. If either my funds just aren't there, or I don't have a use for them or don't see a use for them. But for the most part, I'm just whim pulling in ZZZ because I can make do with pretty much anything. I did put myself in the hole a bit by going for Jane's M1, but that just be how it do. and that's okay. But that just means that game's in farming mode too. But I've got a whole patch cycle of nothing to pull for to recoup, or a whole banner cycle to recoup. So I'm not too worried there. Played a little bit of DJ Max again, nothing new to report there. Played some Mahjong when I got.
Did you see a screenshot I sent you of how much it costs to buy?
Yeah, don't buy that game off sale.
This is just shy of $1,000.
Yeah, don't buy that game off sale, and don't buy all the DLC for it.
That's about the third most expensive game I've seen. Damn.
Yeah.
It's like, what else is there? Crusader Kings, The Sims, probably.
The Sims, Train Simulators, Stellaris.
Yeah, no, what you do with that game is you wait for a new V extension, which are their big expansion packs, to come out. And the game always goes on super deep discount when they do. And you buy the base game. And then you pick and choose during every new pack release, because they all go on sale whenever new song packs release. Except for the latest one. Which ones you want to own personally, and if you are just really playing multiplayer a lot and really like going at it, you can instead just buy the battle pass that lasts for like 3 months. That'll give you access to the entirety of the DLC your friends have bought.
All right.
So that's the way to go with DJ Max if you ever decide to get into it or try it out. But do not buy that game outside of a sale. It's way too expensive for what they're asking for. Mahjong happened this week when I was stuck after 5 p.m. in the office. This has become I'm stuck after I would normally go home at the office in hurry up and wait mode, as I just open Mahjong. And I will just sit there and play rounds of Mahjong. And I got stuck there one day this week. I forget what day it was. Where I was at the office so long that I played something like 10 full games of Mahjong. I didn't get home until like 7:30. Just waiting on people that needed to get back to me that were taking their sweet time. So yeah, that's. Did I do anything else of substance this week? I don't really think so. I feel like there might have been something minor, but it's been mostly a work week for me, and aside from the bit of Genshin I did, it's work is just eating my time this week. I haven't had time to jump on. No sales made, unfortunately, but a whole lot of problems. It's the worst time for the family business model when that happens, and it's just driving me up the wall. But we'll get there. I'm making progress on resolving things, and hopefully Stinson Batchlet doesn't order the thing I quoted him. Really don't want to have to deal with the factory. I already had to send several legitimate RMA requests up there for warranty shoes with a batch of pumps they put out. I really, really don't want to send some stupid ones up there when I'm sure they're already overworked.
Yeah, normally the option for that is, if you don't want to deal with the hassle of actually filling that order, is you just quote it too high. But you're not in the industry that can do that.
No.
There will always be someone who will pay what you ask.
Yeah, and Stinson Batchelor is old enough that he might try.
He would know if you're taking him for a ride.
Yeah, the dude is like, he's approaching 100.
Yeah, so he's been around. He's seen it all.
He's definitely into his 90s. I get the feeling they just keep him on at the company because his mental faculties haven't degraded to enough that kicking him out makes any sense. But they don't really have anything for him to do. So they just let him do whatever he do in his office and just kind of hope he doesn't go off the rails and start doing weird stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like some of the old folks that we've got around here. It's like they can't stop working. Like their body is falling apart, and yet they can't just sit around and relax. They've got to be doing something.
We're gonna have to be like that, because I guarantee you, I'm not getting Social Security when I get older, and I guarantee you,
nobody in our generation is. All of that was just a vanity project for boomers.
Yeah,
like the millennials and after are going to get nothing. We're all going to suffer. We'll die in the office, basically.
Yeah. There is no escape for us.
We're
But
screwed.
yeah, that's what I've been going through. Enjoyed what I played at Genshin this week. Hoping the main story. I'm still holding off on it. I want to see if they announce anything about the voice acting for the next patch in Mondstadt, because Mondstadt being silent is going to really annoy me if I go back and do the Archon quest now. So I'm going to hold off on it for a while. I don't actively pursue this stuff on social media, so I don't get just a deluge of it, and I only check the occasional video for it on YouTube. So I don't get spammed by it. So I should be able to dodge spoilers fairly easily. Hoping that's the case, but we will see. All right. So that's it for the weeks. Mostly, I'm just hoping y'all actually find time to play Clair Obscur so we can talk about that, because there's a lot to talk about with that game.
It is a big game. Well, it's not long. But
well, there being a lot to talk about implies that it's going to take me a lot of time to actually get through
it. It's not so much in the raw amount of content. There's a good amount in there, but it's more the clip of substantive events that happens through the game and keeps clipping on, and the narrative decisions that were made from start to finish. And
stop to sit on its hands for a bit.
Yeah, no, something's always happening. And so there's a lot of very interesting storytelling, not new storytelling decisions, but very interesting ones that they've made going through it, and a few subversions here and there of what you might expect sometimes.
And yeah, it's just nice and refreshing to have characters who actually act like human beings.
Yeah, and if y'all can actually make it to the ending, there'll be a goodly bit to talk about there in the story as a whole when everything is finally out in the open. So
something to look forward to.
Yeah, something.
Hey, Fern, there's a Culus down here. Looks like you missed.
I need to find the. Oh, it's in there. Okay.
Oh no, that's in jail. Took a teleport to a point near you guys. Wound up in jail.
No, that you just went to jail.
Go directly to jail.
Where is the?
Do not pass go.
What do I need?
Do not collect $200.
Forget how these puzzles work.
I don't know how any of these work. It's probably something to do with those cameras up there or something. I don't know.
It is something to do with those cameras.
Oh yeah, you got to use the cameras to grab the energy ball, and or the energy from the wall in one of the containers and move it to another one. And sometimes you can pick up a container and put it in line of sight of a camera to deposit energy into it. If it's the one I'm thinking of.
Had to activate the generator first.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I got. I guess we can move on to the good news and then move to rapping.
There we go. I got it.
Well, what have you seen people talking about?
So I haven't seen people talking because I have not been very keyed into social media at all this week, even less so than normal, which is already almost negligible. But what I did see was something that surprised me, not because it shut down, but because of how fast it shut down. And that was Kodaka's latest project of Tribe 9. Just had its global release a few months ago. It's already announced into service in November.
Not just into service, but that they're cancelling all of the stuff that was in development.
Yeah.
So literally nothing is going to change until end of service.
Yeah.
It's just going to be paralyzed in its current form.
It was a total plug pull. Reading into it and figuring out just what happened was interesting. Basically, it seems like in the closed beta test for the game and the early access for the game that people didn't get to carry that progress over, but that wasn't the big deal. The big deal was there was a whole lot of currencies in the game and ways to progress your account and engage with the game that were just removed at launch by the publisher because they thought they wouldn't be able to sell as many gacha pulls. They were going very heavy on the Pinecone model. And what this made happen was all of a sudden you had a game that had planned to have all these alternative methods of account progression now basically just had no way to do any of that, and it had the a gotcha that you had to pull on. So they really hacked a lot of people off with that, and the game had your standard launch shoes that every game seems to have these days. Just the servers not working right, and all kinds of other launch problems that really soured the game's first impression and lost almost its entire initial install base. And they apparently course corrected fairly well, from what I read. It was a huge apology. Like they refunded all the gotcha currency spent within a certain time frame of launch and stuff. Like they to try and keep the players around because they were bleeding so hard. And it was too little, too late though. The impression had been made, and people had jumped ship. So it looks like that project is now totally dead.
That's a shame.
By all,
Honestly, I haven't heard too much about this thing.
well, that's because nobody was playing it because they all quit. But the
People said that the story was good.
yeah,
It's just that nothing else about the game justified continuing to actually play it.
yeah, this is like there was not enough game there after the launch out of early access, and it just flopped on its face. It was just I did not expect it to do well after I heard that it did not have a very good launch, especially in a market where everybody right now, if they have a gotcha game, they probably are have the ones and they're playing them actively. There's all the Hoyo games, your Blue Archives and stuff. You know, all the girls are playing either Infinity Nikki or Love in Deep Space.
It's pretty saturated right now.
Yeah.
Like you've got to really have something special in order to get anybody's attention.
Yeah, so not really sure what 2Q Games was thinking. They have, as an independent company, put out a few winners. Like Raincode was good. That was their last game they put out before this one. It wasn't as mind blowing or groundbreaking as, like, you know, some of the stuff in around when Danganronpa came out, but it was still good, and it was still clearly Kodaka's writing and his way of writing characters, and that made it a lot of fun. But it just I think they need to stick to that model because they are clearly successful with that model. They may not do gangbusters, but they can make a competent and fun product that everybody likes if they just stick to the single player model.
The question is, are your investors going to accept not doing gangbusters?
Yeah, that's the shoe, because they did start this thing up, spinning it out of Spike Chunsoft to have more creative control, but that probably also means they are beholden to their own new investors, basically coattailing off of Kodaka's name. And just hoping that's enough.
They are fixing to do again, based on the thing that I linked afterward.
Yeah. So, no idea.
Didn't take long. There's a quick recovery.
No, so they probably knew that that Tribe 9 was kill immediately, and they may have had some stuff teed up beforehand, but it definitely got moved up the pipeline when they realized they had to pull the plug. We don't know anything about their new game. It's just they basically have said we're working on something, we promise.
And they put out one of those teasers that tells you precisely nothing.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if, because of the abrupt nature of them having to pull the plug on Tribe 9, they don't even have everything quite nailed down about it yet.
Yeah, likely they were hoping to ride Tribe 9 while they got this other game developed. So, we'll see.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. You cannot flub your first impression. But in a way, I'm kind of glad. It's yet another game that had launch issues and did not come out finished, but this one died for it. I'll get Barbara. Hang on. Barbara is the best at solving these puzzles. Well, Farina's better, but Barbara is Barbara.
If you
Barbara
don't
is
mind the
Barbara.
fact that you're going to bleed for doing it.
Fix it, Barbara.
I always forget about that with Farina and then wonder, where did all my health go?
There we go. There's that one. You still have to get the other one.
Yeah.
Barbara can only do one.
Also one of my bubbles.
But yeah,
Wait,
it's
I didn't know that was a thing. Apparently, yes, that is a thing.
what's the thing?
That other players can steal your bubbles, so you don't generate the full one.
It's okay as long as you got continuous hydro. You can keep splashing it with. They'll eventually turn on.
That works.
Do I have a character that can actually pop that without having to go turn Traveler into a thing? I think Linny or
Farina.
Lynette. Oh, Farina, right. I forget that she can
Farina
do
can
both.
do everything.
Forget that she can do
Farina
both.
is the Farinaist. So yeah, all right. We'll keep an eye out because I do like Kadaka's work, and it's a shame to see something of his crater so hard.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, but it seems like he is no exception and needs to learn the lesson. You release a finished product.
I don't know if he's not going to learn a damn thing if it doesn't touch him, and the fact that he's immediately got another project teed up suggests that he hasn't learned a damn thing. He's just going to attach his name to whatever, whether or not that's him driving that, or whether it's people who are trying to use him for name recognition purposes. Sort of hard to say. Like, I don't know whether he's just like himself recklessly saying, "Yeah, I'll write you guys a story. We'll do a thing. We'll do a thing and then cancel it in 3 months because nobody wants to participate in the game because it's shite." Like, it's just a waste of effort on his part, really.
Yeah, we'll have to see with him. My biggest worry whenever it comes to 2Q games is how much is Uchikoshi involved in it? Because if he's involved with it, he's going to turn it into a train wreck. He used to be a good writer.
Train wreck.
Yeah, he used to be a good writer, and then he went to California.
Never go to California, kids.
Yeah, it really did just destroy the quality of his writing. Just turned him super woke. But if we'll see, I'll always give a casual glance to something Kodaka puts out if it's actually him. I gotta get Barbara back up. Not you. You're not Barbara.
We got it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think we did. There's 3 of them. Maybe there's 4 of them.
Well, he just opened a chest.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Chest. No, that's done. It's a janky one, this one, by the look of it. All right. We are in the pre-announcement season doldrums. Actually, I want to quickly check on, because I'm not sure exactly what form the announcement season is going to take this year.
But my Doritos Pope.
Yeah. Do we actually have an E3 2025? No, we do not.
They finally decided it's not worth it, huh?
I mean, it just became annoying and cringe. I mean, it's always been cringe, but at least a fun kind of cringe.
Yeah,
We all remember the Wii Music announcement.
your body is not ready anymore.
No, body is most definitely not ready. So I don't know. Are we just going to get a random spattering of various presses, or what are we going to get? More to the point, are they going to shit the bed again? Because Nintendo certainly has.
Are they even capable of not shitting the bed?
I don't think so.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's very hard to read uh the announcements that come from Nintendo these days. When you just get the glimpse of the public perception of stuff that's going on with the Switch 2.
They tell you what they want you to know. They don't tell you what they don't want to know.
Yeah, Nintendo's always been the hardest of them to read, but they're also the one that's probably going to guarantee their sales the most.
Yeah.
Just
Those
because,
first party titles can drive basically anything, and their name recognition is unmatched. So
Yeah.
like the Switch 2 pre-orders have been just totally sold out. So
And not entirely by scalpers.
I'm not really sure what people see in it, but whatever.
I mean, the games look good.
if you
but
have a whole bunch of first-party IPs on a system, and your friends buy it, and you're going to be the only one left out, and this is the only way to play it, yeah, you're going to buy it. And it's currently the system that has that going for it the most, and it has the most first-party IPs in general. So if you want to play those games at all, you're gonna buy it.
Yeah, I was willing to give the Switch 2 a lot more leeway, I suppose, initially, but as time has gone on, Nintendo has made they haven't been good to themselves, honestly. Where they have things like if you modify the console in any way, they can remotely brick it.
Just like every Apple product, then.
Basically, yes. There's also some more shenanigans around those code card thingies. So, yeah, it hasn't. They have not gone up in people's estimates since the announcement. And also, Doug Bowser living up to his name and just being the bad guy. So there's that. So yeah, honestly I don't really know if I'll buy the Switch 2 at some point. I probably will eventually, especially if there's a killer app that pops up.
They don't have Hon Hon anymore to lure me in, so it's very unlikely that I will.
If they had Hon Hon, it would have been that one would have gotten me in.
Yeah,
If they do a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles X, maybe.
Well, there are no IPs currently that are drawing my attention. The Switch is the only console the entirety of my family plays. And so I might wind up scooping it just to play with them.
Besides, Nintendo still has a trump card to play, or a couple anyway. If they really want to move Switch 2s, they just announced a new Smash game.
Oh, you have to somehow hog tie Sakurai and make him make another one after Ultimate.
No, they don't. They just hand it over to Namco. Sakurai need not be involved anymore.
Yeah. That's going to be a mess. Never mind all the current licenses you got to juggle for every character you try to keep.
Yes.
That's going to be fun.
That'll be a mess. Some are going to be easy enough, like Sega will say yes to just about anything.
Oh yeah, Square Enix will show their characters to literally anybody at this point.
Yeah, but they've also got a character in there who's partially owned by Disney, so good luck with that one. Let me see. So just going through the headlines at the moment. Lots of very obscure little titles being announced. Yeah, you got Persona 5 The Phantom X is coming in June, which I think is actually supposed to be the closing episode of Persona 5 now.
Why couldn't it close in Persona 5?
Because they wrote themselves into a hole that really just didn't make any damn sense. Let's see. Shadows of the Metaverse, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really tell anything about it.
We did
Except
get...
Okay. I'm not sure what they're doing, because I'm not sure what they're doing with this one, because I think they fixed a lot of the story in Persona Strikers. There's a character they're dedicated particularly to pointing out the hypocrisy of the Phantom Thieves. Till he joins them and pops his collar so hard he actually rivets it to his hat. It is truly a god tier popped collar.
I mean, somebody bought that for me, so I own it. I just
Mm.
haven't played it because the original left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
so millennial.
it was incredibly millennial. But so yeah, you have an older character there who's there. Basically, he calls them out on their bullshit. And the only reason that things worked out in Persona 5 is because of the people who they went after.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
The
Yeah, Persona 5 has honestly been milked to death. That udder is driveled. Okay, what else we got?
there is the other bit of news that's made my feed has been the cinematic for the opening scene of the Trails in the Sky remake. The one where right after Cassius brings Joshua home has come
That's
out.
a boot to the face.
Yeah, well, Estelle jumps on top of Joshua on the bed in the original. So they have translated this with her boot to the face.
Boot to the face.
Now that we're in 3D,
I mean, at least Estelle is still Estelle.
does appear to still be Estelle. I
That's
am not.
that's totally just her souvenir from her dad.
Yep.
Yeah, she can do with it as she wants.
This is really weird to hear Kenichi's new lines. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All that's still going on
yeah.
too, by the way, in the background.
That's still going on. My feed honestly is being filled up this week by the Kershaw vs. Vice stuff, and honestly, it's like, I don't want to know.
I've seen a certain amount of sort of wondering about why is the new Doom game doing so poorly commercially? And
I have
I
not honestly
take a
seen
look
a
at it
whole
and
lot
it's like,
about it at
well,
all.
I paid $80 for Clair Obscur, and Doom is $130. So
Oh, there you go. That's why. Wait, what's this? What in? Why is there a collaborated version of the Busby games being released?
Oh,
Why?
I'm pretty sure I saw that coming out. I'm pretty sure I saw something on that a few weeks ago and just let it roll over my head.
Let's see. It's got
isn't Busby one of those cereal box games?
kinda.
It was
It was supposed to be an answer to Sonic.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. Well, I thought it was more supposed to be an answer like Mario and them back when we had the very start of 3D platformers. Your Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoots and your Mario's and your Mario 64s and your Sonic Adventures. Like it was supposed to join that batch, but whoever made that game was just the first game for it was
Complete
horrible.
idiot.
Yeah, they were terrible. So the games are
Yeah.
awful.
So you've got a high-speed game like Sonic, except you have no way of telegraphing what's coming ahead of you because the camera goes half the speed your character does. You die in one hit, and there's fall damage.
I see.
That's
Doesn't sound like a
in the
great
game
time, to
that
be honest.
works. Of which there is precisely one.
Oh, I'm thinking of Bubsy 3D. I forgot about the 2D ones.
Bubsy 3D is an entire abomination all of its own.
Yeah, it's the one people always post clips of because it's the most busted.
Normally, if you want to mine a richer vein of member berries, you look for something that people remember fondly.
I mean,
This
it will
is infamy.
It will not be very hard to make them better.
There was also going to be a Bubsy cartoon series, except the voice actor for Busby hated the character so much, he just walked off.
Oh goodness.
So yeah. Let's see. It actually has save states, so you can actually finish the game. Videos that delve into the development history of gaming's most infamous Bobcat. Infamous is right. So I guess if you hate yourself, there's that.
Oh my goodness, I don't think anybody cares about Bubsy.
No one ever has cared about Bubsy.
How far down to the bottom of the barrel of member berries do you need to be before you have to start making Bubsy content?
Eventually, they will run out of barrels, and we'll have to do re-releases of re-releases because we can't make new IPs anymore.
Speaking
Unless,
of Infamous, they've also announced remasters for the first two Echo the Dolphin games, plus a third one in the works.
yeah, we're really at the bottom of that barrel, aren't we?
Yeah. I liked Echo, though. It was hard as hell, actually, and then they had the infamous final level.
And in this brave new world, Todd Howard will rule as God Emperor.
For the Emperor, he's glitched to the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Please support Clair Obscur so we can encourage the industry to move its booty and put the crash harder on these remakes. Please let it end.
Yeah, I don't mind remakes of stuff that actually deserves it. But we're not talking about remakes of games that launched, 18 months ago? Why are those a thing?
I don't know.
And that's really about it.
Yep.
Because I'm not seeing a whole lot else.
We're at time anyway, so
So what I saw this week. Oh right, somebody hit Blue Protocol with the defibrillators. It seems
Oh, I see.
because it was cancelled ages ago. The global version was cancelled ages ago, and the original version I think has end of serviced. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it was end of service in January. It was one of those projects that just took too long, and then it appeared in the world sort of out of time with the MMO wave. So it just didn't really get any purchase. But I guess somebody has decided that they need to release it. So it's being re-released as a free-to-play MMO with a Western version as well this year. So yeah, they're releasing it on the Steam and Epic Store on PC and on iOS and on Android, which is just kind of bizarre that somebody had the confidence to try and resurrect Blue Protocol in the current era. I'm wondering how much gacha they're going to find a way to embed into it because that seems to be the way business is done these days. But yeah, it was always just a fairly normal sort of MMO, except it was just restricted to Japan. There was heaps of interest in it as a streamer game for a while, but then that sort of imploded when the game did. But yeah, I don't know how it will survive in the modern era, but I mean, if it provides enough of a diversion for people and it's going to be cross-platform and supported on mobile, much like things like the Hoyo games are. So there's a chance that it will survive. I'll have to wait and see on that one. I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems like a weird relic out of time now because the heyday of the MMO seems to be more or less over. But yeah, they're trying to bring back Blue Protocol.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people eagerly anticipating it once upon a time, but I guess they must have just lost investor confidence because it got cancelled outright despite the hype.
We'll have to give it a go if it ever actually does come out.
Yeah, since it's going to be free to play, there's no reason we can't poke at it and see if it holds together after all this time.
Yeah, because games that kind of go through this sort of development process rarely survive.
I haven't seen any clarification on how it coincides with the original version of Blue Protocol. Like, is this a new game entirely built on the same engine? Is this a relaunch of the original? Like, what is it? It's not really clear. But yeah, it never came to the West, so it's more or less much of a muchness as far as the nature of the content is concerned. But
Fantasy Star
yeah.
all over again.
Fantasy Star had a whole other issue.
Oh yes, it did.
Yeah. Well, Fantasy Star PSO2 was more or less just a mature game launched to an audience that wasn't prepared for a game at that level of progression. So you just got a whole pile of weird crap that didn't make any sense dumped on you. But PSO2 2 was just a mess. Is that even still operating? Like, are they still
Yeah.
trying to push forward with that? Because I haven't checked up on it in
They-
quite some time.
They have not
They
EO.
have.
They haven't
pops up every
EOS'd
now and
it,
again.
but they must be funding that thing through like Ship 34.
Let's
Let's
see.
be real. They're funding it. They're funding it through PSO2. That's what they're doing.
They are. Yeah. Let's see. News Analysis version 2. Apparently, it's version 2 now.
So they did just straight up did a soft relaunch, did they?
I don't know.
Because that's usually what version 2 means.
We might need to do some digging here. Hang on. Let's see. Yeah, scroll back. I'll just keep going back through the newses. This is all still in version 2. It must have been a while ago if that was the case. Yeah, this has been a fair while because there's a lot of patch notes and things here.
Yeah, the player count sits like at 5,000 constantly on Steam.
How? When we played it, we knocked over everything that the game had to offer in about 2 hours.
I presume, like I said, that this is all people sitting on Ship 34, doing Ship 34 things.
Yeah, we don't speak about what happens on Ship 34. I'm still scrolling. I'm not finding it. Where am I up to in date wise now? September last year. They're still actively patching and updating this thing constantly. So
This is sort of iconic of the misunderstanding of MMOs, though, right? Because this was an attempt to capture PSO2 in a bottle again and update it in a way that would give it going concern into the future without so much worry about how the engine is going to age. But what has failed in understanding here is that fundamentally it was the community that made the game, not the other way around. Like, PSO2 was a venue for expression for people. It wasn't the game. Though the game was there and the game was important and all, the game gave people something to do, but it was something to do with other people, like a la classic World of Warcraft. That was what drove it. New Genesis was the assumption that the game was the important part.
Yeah. The actual important part was sitting at the Blackjack table and talking to people. But
Anyway,
yeah.
so other news from the gacha world that I occupy, since I'm probably the most rabid consumer of gacha in our little team, considering how many I've got installed on my phones. There are 3 that generated news this week. Neverness to Everness is going into their CBT. That's, for those that don't know, it's more or less sort of competing on the ZZZ aesthetic. By and large, it leans more in that direction, as far as open world action RPG gachas go. It's with a bit of extra sort of focus on, it seems like driving mechanics, like driving/racing mechanics is going to be sort of splashed in there, but by and large it looks like a lot of the other similar gachas. So that's attracted a certain amount of attention. Dew at Night Abyss is going into second CBT. This one has sort of like it's got a tight knot of dedicated fans who have been following its development and are really keen for it to come out, but a lot of stuff in it looks cribbed from Genshin, cribbed from Star Rail, cribbed from Wuthering Waves. There's a lot of situations where you could probably overlay animations from it over those from other games and it would be uncannily close. If it can manifest its own sort of like distinctive story and visual style, then a lot of people aren't going to care. But it does look highly derivative, which is why I haven't really taken much of an interest in it. I'm sure once it launches, every fandom is going to accuse every other fandom of it stealing things from theirs, or they were going to accuse, like, for instance, there's a character who basically has all of Castorus's animations and summons a dragon through a rift. There's going to be a lot of accusing of they stole this animation from the Star Rail stole this animation from Duet Night Abyss and vice versa. I think that that animation was actually cribbed from a third source originally, and it was actually pinched by Star Rail and then pinched from Star Rail by Duet Night Abyss. So this is how it goes in China. Get used to it. Yeah, so Neverness to Everness is Perfect World's entry to this particular game, and Duet Night Abyss is a different company that I don't remember what else they do, if anything. Not sure, can't call anything to mind. The third one, and this is the one that created the most buzz, was the announcement of Silver Palace, which is another of the same type of game. It's open world action RPG, obvious gacha game, etc., etc. It's another one built on UE5. This one generated a lot of buzz because its style is slightly less derivative in appearance, like superficially at least. It's got a more distinctive aesthetic to it and a more distinctive attitude to it. Like it attracted quite a bit of attention for just being a little bit more violent. Like the combat has more of a sort of visceral violence to it rather than just like energy balls bouncing off each other the way most other gacha games do. And the visual style is slanted a little bit more in the Wuthering Waves direction than the Genshin direction. And it's set in a sort of hyper accelerated industrialized Victorian London type setting. So it's got its own setting as well, contra the other ones, which are more or less generic high fantasy or generic cyberpunk or generic near future. This one's Victorian England, so it's attracted a certain amount of attention for having that going for it as well. But there's very little known about this other than it's going to be a multiple platform release and runs on UE5. That's basically all that we've been told. With these things, it's all basically going to be, can they reach a latching point with people's interest, and does the action feel like a reasonable game, or does it feel like it's just phoned in? So yeah, there's a lot to be proven there. They're all done in a very similar style, but I do admit that Silver Palace stands out more than the other two. But the other two have their sort of cult followings of people who are looking for the next big gacha to jump in on at release. So yeah, there's a little bit of content floating around online about Silver Palace, but it's pretty much just exclusively about 12 or 13 minutes worth of video content that's been sort of scattered around. The designs are quite nice. It does have Icky Boys in it, of course, but it looks relatively like it will be able to carve out an identity of its own. It doesn't have the sort of overt, slightly different Chinese look that Wuthering Waves does, but nor does it look exactly like the Japanese style aped by Hoyo, or the Korean style for that matter. It's got its own look to it, although I feel like it leans a little bit more in the Korean direction than some of the others. But the architecture of the cities that they've shown for in the sort of exploration segments are particularly nice looking. Very, very, very detailed, very, very gorgeous to look at. Hopefully it's not just all like alpha test environments and everything outside the city will just be a wasteland like in a lot of open world games at launch, but we'll have to wait and see how it goes.
All right. Yeah, I think there's going to be at some point maybe a big resurgence of these MMOs, but it's probably not going to be any of these games. We don't know what the form that's going to take yet. Anywho, I did a little bit of digging around just to find out what the version 2 for New Genesis was, and it's the housing system, basically.
Oh, that's it.
That's
Even World
pretty-
of Warcraft has that now.
There's a lot of other little bits in there, but it's primarily the housing system. So yeah, we should wrap up and get out of here.
I'm squashing a burger.
What? No.
Teresa has sat up here and squashed like 30 burgers and eaten them while we've been talking about gotchas.
Why do you squash a burger before you eat it?
Have you seen the size of the burger that she pulls out?
Is it a big burger?
It's bigger than her.
That's a big burger.
What's that? It's about 2/3 of one barista tall.
Oh dear.
She also is making thunderclaps, smacking the little fly that I'm now convinced comes out of Mona's coin purse.
Right.
Yeah, I don't.
Take us out.
All right, I don't have much to add on upcoming gotchas because I just do not follow this news cycle.
I just posted one of the few bits of video that they released. This is from their in-game animation stuff trailer that they released. It's one of the boss fights they previewed. And it looks quite nice, but these things are all in the execution, you know. It's not enough for it to look nice in a trailer.
Yeah, especially when it comes to action games, I can't make judgments until the game's out and people can give me initial impressions on game feel, and then I try it myself. It's really action games all depend on, even action RPGs depend on game feel. So we'll see. They might make some progress. Might do something. I don't know. Not a circle I follow, but maybe something will catch my eye with them. All right. Email topic of the week. If you have played Clair Obscur, talk to us about that. And if you haven't, Serathis, I'm sure you're all on the Doom train. You can inform us what the heck the new Doom game is about, because I barely was aware it was happening.
Honestly, there hasn't been a whole lot of hype behind it, really, has there?
No, word of mouth has been especially bad. Maybe inside Doom circles it's spread quite a bit, but outside of Doom circles, just not really making the rounds, and I've barely seen any kind of marketing push or anything for it.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think that's all we got, folks. Varisa is adorable. Mona is broke. Kanish has slung off somewhere to go get lost exploring the water.
And get disturbed by his strange new voice.
Yep. So, we will see y'all next week.